Chapter 292. Jin Yen was the new commander sent from the King City. He was an elementary king, and it wasn't easy for him to suppress the Death Legion. He was still young, only 37 or 38 years old. Becoming a king at such a young age was quite impressive in the King City. He wore a military uniform and looked like a dog. His eyes were high up in the sky, and he didn't care about any of the soldiers around him at all. There were a few subordinates with extraordinary auras beside him. They were clearly people he had brought with him. Lu Ji walked out of the tent with a group of commanders. "Which one is the new commander?" Lu Ji asked. "Are you blind? Can't you recognize the commander standing right in front of you?" A fierce bald man beside Jin Yen shouted angrily. Li Dazue stood in front of Lu Ji and glared at the fierce bald man as he replied, "Who do you think you are? How dare you scold your master like that? How dare you talk back to me? Are you itching for a beating?" The fierce bald man shouted with a shovel in his hand. "Mad dog!" Xueji cursed in a shrill voice. As the commanders of the Death Legion, they were all arrogant and unruly. They couldn't stand the newcomers being so arrogant. "Commander, please allow me to teach these disobedient bastards a lesson," the fierce bald man said to Jin Yen. "Permitted." Jin Yen spat out a simple word. "Come, come, all of you disobedient bastards, come at me together. This grandpa will teach you how to behave," the fierce bald man said as he rolled up his sleeves. Just as Li Dazue was about to charge out, Du Guang Fo walked out first and said, "Ba, we're all bald. Let's have a fight." "Very well, I'll smash your bald head first." The ferocious Baldy licked his lips and shouted. Then, he charged out like a dragon. His body flashed with white light, and a palm print blasted out toward Du Guang Fo's chest. One could tell whether an expert was a real expert or not. The fierce bald man in front of him was obviously a top general realm expert. No wonder he was so conceited. Du Guang Fo's eyes darkened as he shouted, "Who do you think you are? How dare you behave atrociously in front of the Death Legion?" Cram! Dim golden light flickered on Du Guang Buddha's body, and there seemed to be an evil Buddha behind him. He also held a palm print and slammed it out. Bang! The two palms collided, and a dull sound rang out. Both of them stood where they were and didn't retreat at all. They continued to compete with each other in terms of strength. It was just a matter of who was stronger. "You have some skills, but it's not enough." Scram! The ferocious bald man roared, and his aura rose steadily. He released his bright Xian Qi and wanted to blast Du Guang Buddha away. After being refined by Yang Wu's elixir, Du Guang Buddha's physique had become even stronger. He was not afraid of his opponent at all. He also unleashed an even stronger power to fight his opponent to the end. The two balls of Xian Qi intertwined and crushed the surrounding area. Dust and sand flew everywhere, forcing the surrounding people to gradually retreat for fear of being affected. The two of them were obviously evenly matched. Neither of them could do anything to the other, so they could only use weapons to fight. The fierce bald man waved his iron shovel, and the shadow of the shovel was very deadly. It was not something that ordinary top generals could withstand. Du Guang Fo was one of the top 2 generals in the Death Legion. Besides Xueji, he was the strongest. Moreover, he had been baptized by the flames of war. His combat ability was even more extraordinary, and he was not inferior to the fierce bald man. The two of them fought fiercely, and it was difficult to determine the winner in a short time. No one was anxious. They were all watching the battle. They all knew that this was the new commander's show of strength. If they couldn't even survive this battle, their future would not be easy. After a fierce battle, Du Guang Buddha was still slightly stronger. The Buddha beads flew out and circled around his opponent's neck, strangling him. Du Guang Buddha slammed him heavily on the ground, stirring up a thick cloud of dust. "You dare to behave so atrociously in our Death Legion with such strength? You really don't know the meaning of death." Du Guang Fo did not kill his opponent. He only spoke with disdain. Trash! Jin Yen could not help but curse when he saw the fierce bald man lose. He felt ashamed. Commander, let me fight. Another feminine general walked out from behind Jin Yen and said, Only victory is allowed. Defeat is not allowed. Jin Yen ordered. Yes, Commander. The feminine general nodded. He then said to the Death Legion, I am Commander Jin Yen's subordinate, Hong Ji. Who wants to come up and spar with me? We all use swords. I'll spar with you. Zhou Yong rushed out and said, All right, I'll defeat you in 3 moves. The feminine warrior nodded and made the first move against Zhou Yong. His attack was very fast. With a flash of sword light, the blue sword energy had already pierced towards Zhou Yong's throat. Not everyone could catch this attack. Zhou Yong quickly blocked and deflected the opponent's sword. However, he still felt the tip of the sword streak across his neck. His hair stood on end. What a fast sword! Zhou Yong exclaimed and prepared to counterattack. However, Hong Ji did not give Zhou Yong much of a chance. In an instant, 3 figures appeared and attacked Zhou Yong from different directions. Shadow Flash Stab. This attack was too fast. It seemed to be an indiscriminate attack. The 3 swords came from different directions, making it impossible to guard against. Zhou Yong's Xian armor was already condensed. He could not tell which sword was the real one. He could only choose to defend. Unfortunately, the opponent's sword was not only strange, but also very fast. It pierced through his Xian armor and hit his ribs, injuring him on the spot. Hong Ji returned to his original position and stood with his hands behind his back. He did not pursue and only said softly, You can't even withstand a single blow. Do you really think there's no one in our army? Jing Xiaohu walked out and said. Jing Xiaohu was the youngest among the commanders. He had also recently broken through to the peak of the general realm. He was at the peak of his strength. Leave it to me. Another person walked out from behind Jin Yen and said. The other person was very tall, but his body was very thin. He was like a bamboo pole. He held a green bamboo stick in his hand. He was an expert at using sticks. His nickname was Bamboo Man. Jing Xiaohu rushed over without saying a word. He waved his powerful tiger fist and attacked Bamboo Man. Bamboo Man spun the bamboo stick in his hand and hit Jing Xiaohu. He shouted in surprise, Watch my dog-beating stick technique. The dog-beating stick technique had a total of 36 sticks. Each stick contained a different variation. The moves were quite exquisite. It was precisely to counter Jing Xiaohu's stick technique. After evading Jing Xiaohu's attacks, Bamboo Man continued to hit Jing Xiaohu's weak points, causing Jing Xiaohu's Xian armor to continuously crack. Jing Xiaohu was brave and fierce, but the variations in his moves were somewhat lacking. After he fell into a disadvantageous position, he roared and turned into a fierce tiger. He tore at his opponent with all his strength. The bravery of an ignorant man is not worth mentioning. Bamboo Man sneered. His figure skillfully dodged. After dodging Jing Xiaohu's attack, Bamboo Man flicked Jing Xiaohu's lower body with his bamboo stick, causing Jing Xiaohu to fall to the ground. Then, Bamboo Man continuously hit Jing Xiaohu a dozen times. Every hit landed on Jing Xiaohu's body, causing Jing Xiaohu to be covered in wounds. Dog-beating stick technique, stick-beating dog. Who else wants to try it? Bamboo Man said with an expression that was asking for a beating. If you have something to say it properly. Why be so impulsive? Lu Ji said with a worried expression. This girl isn't bad. This captain wants her. Jin Yanji's gaze fell on Lu Ji, revealing a trace of wickedness as he spoke. This new captain, I'm a man. Lu Ji hurriedly explained. I like such a beautiful man even more. Jin Yanji said without changing his expression. Lu Ji immediately felt the hairs on his body stand on end. He looked into the other's eyes and wanted to flee. Hurry up and come over. Our captain is calling for you. Bamboo Man walked over to Lu Ji and said. Scram! Li Dazue blocked in front of Lu Ji and shouted. Bamboo Man didn't waste time with Li Dazue. He raised his stick and began to hit. Bursts of green light continuously flashed and fell. Heart-tearing hand. Li Dazue didn't care about the other's attack at all. He was unafraid of death as he charged towards Bamboo Man. His palm turned into a palm and grabbed towards Bamboo Man's heart. Bang bang! Li Dazue suffered several blows. His profound armor cracked and blood spurted out of his body. However, his hand grabbed Bamboo Man's chest and tore off a large piece of flesh. Ah! Bamboo Man screamed in pain and retreated. Li Dazue continued to charge. He wanted to kill Bamboo Man as if he didn't care about his life. At this moment, Hong Ji, who had just defeated Zhou Yong, rushed out again. He wanted to attack Li Dazue, but Du Guang Fo blocked in front of him and prevented him from helping. The last two generals behind Jin Yanji attacked at the same time. They didn't plan to give these people any chance. "Do you think this captain doesn't exist?" Shueji said with a seductive expression. With a flick of her finger, several needles shot out in quick succession. Her needles were thin and fast. It was impossible to guard against. Even if the other party was at the same level as her, they still couldn't detect the attack of these embroidery needles. Ah! Jin Yanji's subordinates all covered their faces and screamed. They didn't know where the attacks were coming from. Their faces were pierced. The power of these needles was extraordinary. They felt their faces itch and poison spread. "Bastard, how can you hurt this captain's men?" Jin Yanji was furious. He roared and sent a palm strike at Shueji. This palm strike was so powerful that even though Shueji reacted in time to block it, she was still sent flying dozens of meters away. Jin Yanji didn't stop there. He attacked in two other directions. Du Guang Fo and Li Dazue were sent flying far away, vomiting blood. Both of them were heavily injured. A king was a king, after all. His strength wasn't something that ordinary generals could compare to. Moreover, to be sent to the Death Legion, Jin Yanji was no ordinary person. Jin Yanji arrived in front of Lu Ji. He pinched the immobile Lu Ji's chin and sneered. "Beauty, you're this captain's man from now on." Lu Ji almost fainted on the spot. Fortunately, he heard a heavenly voice ring in his ears. "Who dares to call themselves captain in my big brother's territory? Do you want to die?" Chapter 293. The new commander of the Death Legion was Jin Yen. As soon as he arrived, he gave the Death Legion a show of strength, injuring many of the commanders. Jin Yen did not kill them. He wanted to lead the Death Legion, not to destroy it. He had heard from other generals that the Death Legion had risen and was a force to be reckoned with. Especially after seeing Shueji, Du Guang Fo, and the others take action, he wanted to grasp this force in his hands. This was a bargaining chip for him to accumulate military merit. However, although his wish was good, it was not so easy to realize. There were people who would definitely not agree. A person came with a broken staff. He was Shouho. The current Shouho appeared more mature than before. His figure was still on the skinny side, as if no matter how much he cultivated, he would not grow bigger. However, only those who had seen him transform would know just how strong his other side was. During the battle between the Barbarian Suppression Army and the Barbarian Army, Shouho had displayed extraordinary battle prowess. If someone compared him to Fun Yaoyang might not necessarily be his opponent. Shouho had obtained the Scarlet Fire Spirit Elixir after returning to the Wolf Smoke Mountain prison with Yang Wu. His strength had skyrocketed, and he had touched the boundary of the King Realm. After a period of meditation and seclusion, he had broken through that barrier and become a true King Realm cultivator. At this moment, he was a King Realm cultivator. This news had not spread in the army yet. He had been cultivating in seclusion all this time, so no one knew about his progress. Even his master, Zhuo Yidao, did not know. "Who are you to talk so big?" Jin Yen glanced at Shouho and asked. "Why do you care who I am?" Let go of the beautiful advisor, slap yourself in the mouth, and get out of here, Shou-ho said indifferently. Another dog has come. Let me knock its head a few times and it'll be obedient. The bamboo man strode forward with his long legs and swung his bamboo staff at Shou-ho. A 30-meter-long beam of green light shot out like a green snake, arriving before Shou-ho in an instant. The skinny monkey didn't even look at it. He raised his hand and grabbed the green light. With a light squeeze of his hand, the green light shattered inch by inch. There was even a rebounding force. The bamboo man's hand bled and the green bamboo stick fell from his hand. The skinny monkey-like figure waved his hand and the bamboo stick appeared in his hand. He sneered, "The dog-beating stick sounds really cheap. Let's see how you're going to play without the stick." Pop! The general weapon snapped in the skinny monkey's hand. The bamboo man's eyes were filled with anger. Without thinking, he rushed towards the skinny monkey and shouted, "You destroyed my weapon. I'll kill you." The bamboo man unleashed all of his strength. His entire body was covered in layers of cyan profound armor. Both of his palms furiously slapped forward. The power of several tens of meters was like a rippling bamboo pole as it swiftly whipped towards the skinny monkey. Hong-ji also attacked together with the bamboo man. The fast sword in his hand rushed out like a tide, and the blue sword light had already landed on the skinny monkey's chest in the blink of an eye. The power of two top-notch General Realm cultivators was not as simple as 1+1. The members of the Death Legion all stared at the skinny monkey, hoping that he could give them a pleasant surprise. They were all hot-blooded people. When they saw their commanders being beaten up, they really wanted to help. However, there was a king here, and they didn't know what was going on, so they didn't know what to do. The skinny monkey was Yang Wu's brother. This was a well-known fact. If the skinny monkey could take down the other party, it would be for the best. The skinny monkey didn't disappoint them. They didn't see him move at all, but the power of the attack was dissipated by him. Moreover, two fists appeared, and the bamboo man and Hong-ji were sent flying while coughing up blood. This scene was very similar to how Jin Yen had dealt with the commanders of the Death Legion. The generals beside Jin Yen wanted to attack again, but Jin Yen said, "Stand down. This person is a king. You only realized it now. Your brain really isn't working well," the skinny monkey said disdainfully to Jin Yen. "Who are you?" "I'm the commander of the Death Legion personally appointed by the marshal. You dare to interfere with my affairs? You're overstepping your authority." Jin Yen didn't know who the skinny monkey was, so he planned to use peaceful means before resorting to force. "What kind of commander are you? This is my big brother's army. I don't care who sent you here. Hurry up and go back to where you came from," the skinny monkey said domineeringly. As his strength increased, his fiery temper also grew. Apart from Yang Wu, who could restrain him a little, no one else could. "Your big brother is Yang Wu?" Jin Yen asked in return. "That's right. You bullied his people, which is the same as bullying me. It's not too late to apologize now. Otherwise, you won't have the chance," the skinny monkey replied. "I've long heard of the traitor Yang Wu's deeds. I didn't think that you would dare to call him brother." "Then I'll deal with you as a traitor too," Jin Yen said coldly. "What do you mean? You dare to call my big brother a traitor?" The skinny monkey's eyes were burning with anger. "It seems like you guys are still not clear. Yang Wu is now in the barbarian tribe and has already colluded with them. Even if he comes back, he will no longer be your commander. So if you know what's good for you, listen to my orders obediently. Otherwise, you will be punished for being a traitor," Jin Yen said loudly. At this moment, the surrounding soldiers of the Death Legion went into an uproar. "Did I hear wrongly? How could Commander Yang Wu be a traitor? This is definitely slander. Commander Yang Wu has made great contributions to Great Xia. He even killed the barbarian king. This is something that everyone has witnessed. How could he be a traitor? If you want to condemn someone, you can always find a reason to do so. It seems like Commander Yang Wu's contributions are too great and he has incurred the hatred of others. No, we must seek justice for Commander Yang Wu. We must not let others put the blame on him. A bunch of ignorant scoundrels! Jin Yen scolded in disdain. You're the ignorant scoundrel! The skinny monkey was already itching with anger. He finally couldn't help but attack Jin Yen. He raised his broken staff and swung it at Jin Yen's head. The surging golden fire contained a powerful force that caused the surrounding airwaves to surge. The soldiers were frightened and quickly retreated. Jin Yen felt threatened. He quickly drew his blade and slashed at the skinny monkey's staff. Jin Yen's strength was not bad. He was already at the late stage of the primary king realm and was not far from the intermediate king realm. His foundation was quite solid, which was why he was entrusted with such an important task. His blade slashed out with a might that could sever all life. The staff and blade collided, and a lot of profound energy immediately splattered in all directions. The surroundings were in a sorry state. Both of them released their king realm auras and attacked repeatedly, trying to seize the initiative and take down the other. The skinny monkey's staff attack was grand and contained raging flames. It was incomparably domineering. Jin Yen was quite experienced in his attacks. He was a true grandmaster of the saber. Slash after slash, he completely sealed off the skinny monkey's attack, not giving him any chance to retaliate. He even wanted to take advantage of the situation. It was an eye-opener for the onlookers, and they screamed, "If this is all you've got, then die." The skinny monkey became more and more courageous. His movements became faster and faster, and his attacks became faster and faster. He was not as simple as an ordinary primary king realm cultivator. Jin Yen's defense became more and more difficult. It was as if his weakness was completely exposed in the skinny monkey's eyes, forcing him to retreat repeatedly. Damn it, I'm new here. How could I possibly lose? Jin Yen roared in his mind and unleashed his true battle prowess. A thought severing the mundane. Jin Yen's eyes flashed with a ruthless light. It was as if he had entered a certain state and wanted to sever the mundane world. The blade light contained a kind of blade intent. Wherever the blade light passed, rocks would crumble and the ground would split open. The skinny monkey's pupils shrank. He retreated rapidly and struck out with his broken staff to stop the blade light. Rumble, rumble! The blade intent contained in the blade was not simple. Even if Jin Yen had only comprehended a little bit, it was enough to show how amazing he was. The skinny monkey blocked it with great difficulty. His clothes were torn and blood seeped out. Clearly, he had paid a price to block the blade. A second thought severing the mundane. Jin Yen held the battle blade again and slashed out mercilessly. He wanted to sever the mundane world's mundane emotions. He no longer had any lingering feelings. Everything was just a blade in his hand. This blade could destroy thousands of enemies. This blade had already used more than half of his strength. If he still couldn't kill the skinny monkey, he would be exhausted. He had obtained these two incomplete saber technique manuals by accident. After many years of cultivation, he had only reached the minute subtlety stage. Even so, he was able to comprehend saber essence. It was enough to show how extraordinary these two incomplete saber technique manuals were. The chaotic blade light swept across the ground, leaving long blade marks. Sand and stones flew everywhere, forcing the surrounding people to retreat again and again. At this moment, many kings from the army had already rushed over. When they saw Jin Yen's shocking blade, they were all shocked. It was as if they didn't expect Jin Yen to have such strength. You're not the only one who comprehended the blade intent. I also comprehended the staff intent. Eat my staff. The skinny monkey's eyes flickered with flames. After roaring, his broken staff surged into the sky. A wave of staff intent was contained within it as it lashed out at Jin Yen's blade. Battle the sky and battle the earth staff. This shocking staff strike was no weaker than Jin Yen's blade. It caused the surrounding ground to sink, and deep craters appeared. When the power of the blade and staff collided, dazzling sparks exploded. It was so dazzling that no one could see the battle clearly. When everything disappeared, Jin Yen had already lost his grip on the battle blade. He retreated with injuries. His face was incomparably pale, and his body was on the verge of collapse. On the other hand, the skinny monkey's battle aura was soaring. He still had a lot of energy left, and wasn't affected much. "Eat my staff again!" the skinny monkey shouted again. He wanted to hit Jin Yen's head with his staff. He wanted to kill him. "Disciple, stop!" Sundo's master, Zuoyidao, rushed over and stopped Sundo. He was afraid that Sundo would really kill Jin Yen. That would be troublesome. The skinny monkey listened to Zuoyidao. He stopped and stomped his feet on the ground, creating 2 deep craters. He roared to the sky, "My big brother is not a traitor!" Chapter 294. Wolf Smoke Mountain Range. This was an ancient mountain range that stretched for an unknown number of miles. It spanned across several countries with no end in sight. This was the territory of the demonic wolves. Most of the demonic wolves were demonic wolves. The other demonic beasts were all small races and were mostly food for the demonic wolves. Yang Wu had already returned to the mountain range with Meng Bingxue and Shui Gui, leaving the barbarian encampment. Bing Shang, Black Baran, Qing Li Jie, and the old turtle were still waiting for them at the border. When Yang Wu's group appeared, the 4 heavenly demons welcomed them happily. They were more welcoming towards Little He. In their eyes, Little He's status far surpassed Yang Wu's. Without Little He, Yang Wu wouldn't be worth mentioning in their eyes. Yang Wu didn't mind at all. There was no difference between him and Little He. In any case, Little He was his, and what was his might not necessarily be Little He's. When the 2 demonic horses sensed the auras of the 4 heavenly demons, their legs went soft and they lay down. They didn't even have the courage to get up. Shui Gui was moved. He didn't expect Yang Wu's background to be so strong that he could even summon heavenly demons. No wonder he dared to go to the grassland alone and was acknowledged by the 3 protectors. He doubted whether Yang Wu was really from the Great Xia. He felt that he was more like a prodigy from the transcendent world. "Alright, let's return to the Ice Wolf Valley first. You 2 go prepare the herbs and demonic cores. I'll refine the Demon King pill for you," Yang Wu said to Black Baran and Qing Li Jie. "Thank you, young Master Yang." Black Baran and Qing Li Jie thanked him. Just like that, the group headed towards the Ice Wolf Valley. As for the old turtle, it returned to its pond to continue cultivating. Before it left, Yang Hu naturally obtained a few drops of blood essence from its body. These were prepared to be given to the silver-patterned tortoise. He still decided to properly nurture the silver-patterned tortoise and help it grow into a flood dragon tortoise, or even turn it into a dragon tortoise. The old tortoise was extremely pained. Every drop of essence blood was the foundation of its life. However, after Yang Wu threw a large chunk of ice serpent meat to it, it became extremely excited. The ice serpent meat was an existence of the same level as itself. It could also refine a few drops of serpent blood from it, which was enough to make up for its loss and even improve its bloodline. It could be said to have profited greatly. The turtle was in awe of Yang Wu. Even the heavenly demon Ice Flood Dragon was killed, so if it dared to be presumptuous, it would also be slaughtered. In the future, if there were any orders, it would be better to obediently listen. It was not that Yang Wu did not want to bring the old tortoise back to the King City, but doing so would be a huge taboo. The Transcendence would definitely not allow it. The power of the Transcendent Realm was not to be underestimated. He had heard many stories since he was young. It was the holy land of martial arts and the goal pursued by martial artists. He did not think that it was a joke. If the other party sent out experts, there would definitely be many in the heavenly fish realm. There might even be existences that surpassed this realm. Yang Wu allowed the old tortoise to leave as he headed towards the Ice Wolf Valley. He was prepared to take the 2 warhorses with him. He would leave the wild red hare for Shuigui and bring the dragon-blooded horse back to Luji. That sickly beauty's advisor needed such a good warhorse to be more imposing. At this time, Shuigui said, "I won't be going with you." "Why?" Yang Wu asked. "I have my own matters to attend to." Shuigui softly replied, then he said, "Give me the fallen moon bow, I will repair it for you." "Can you repair it now?" Yang Wu asked. "I don't know, let's try." Shuigui casually replied, but his eyes were bursting with an incomparable confidence. Yang Wu hesitated for a moment and said, "How about we rest for the night and repair it tomorrow?" "Okay," Shuigui straightforwardly replied. Thus, they found a quiet place to rest for the time being. In fact, Yang Wu just wanted to take this opportunity to explore the arrow technique sealed in the fallen moon bow. He was afraid that he would destroy the arrow technique after refining it again. Yang Wu brought the fallen moon bow to a corner and asked Little He to quickly set up a formation. After isolating the qi inside and outside, he urged the divine court's mental power to attack the fallen moon bow. Sure enough, when his mental power came into contact with the fallen moon bow, he felt layers of obstructive forces coming from it. Unfortunately, these obstructive forces were completely vulnerable to the power of his powerful divine court Dao flower. They were forcefully broken through, and a wisp of restriction power swept out from inside. A barbarian with powerful blood qi released a dense brute force. Majestic qi overlapped with each other. He stepped on a rock with incomparably stable footstep. His arms were filled with powerful strength, and the big bow in his hand flickered with dazzling light. When the bow was fully loaded, the sun and moon would fall. This was an incomparably shocking archery skill. One arrow could bring down the sun and moon. No one could block this swift and violent arrow. This was not only the power of Xianqi, but also brute force. More importantly, it was a heaven-shaking archery skill that was superimposed with spiritual power. The fallen moon bow was a top-notch heavenly weapon that could shoot down the moon. The fallen moon bow technique's incantation floated in Yang Wu's mind. It was divided into 3 stages. The first stage was shooting at 100 paces, the second stage was arrow falling moon, and the third stage was falling moon continuous shooting. The first stage required one to reach the highest realm in the eyes of ordinary archers. One would be able to hit a very small target in one shot while walking casually. One's archery skills had already advanced to a very accurate level. The second stage was beyond the ordinary realm. One's archery skills required one to reach the level of arrow intent. One could shoot down the moon in the sky with earth-shattering power. The third stage not only required one to shoot down the moon, but also to explode it. Even if it hid at the ends of the earth, it would not be able to avoid a destructive blow. The fallen moon bow technique was a heavenly skill. It had very high requirements. One's eyesight, arm strength, and waist strength all had to meet the requirements. Not a single one could be missing. In order to comprehend it to the perfect stage, one needed mental power and brute force to be able to truly unleash it. This was because this was a heavenly archery skill created by the barbarian ancestors. Other humans might not be able to cultivate this heavenly skill even if they obtained it. However, this was not a problem for Yang Wu. He had already awakened the barbarian god's arms. The strength of his arms could unleash a brute force that was comparable to the barbarians. Furthermore, he had powerful mental power. It was not a problem for him to cultivate this heavenly skill. After the Heaven Court Dao flower quickly absorbed this heavenly skill, there would be no more archery skills left in the fallen moon bow. Unless Yang Wu cultivated it to perfection and infused his mental power into it, he would be able to pass it down again. In order to reach this step, he would have to at least reach the heavenly fish realm. Alright, now I can fully repair it. I will have a heavenly weapon by my side. I can shoot anyone who dares to disobey me. Yang Wu said with satisfaction. Little Wu, Inlay the amber stone into the bow to make it even more perfect. Little Hay reminded him. Is that so? Yang Wu asked. Of course. That guy's refining skills are not bad. It won't be difficult to inlay it into the bow. When the time comes, you will be able to unleash even more power. Little Hay replied. All right, I will give the amber stone to him to refine. Yang Wu agreed without hesitation. The next day, as soon as the sun rose, Yang Wu went to look for Shui Gui. When he found Shui Gui, he saw that Shui Gui had already built the top of a furnace. This dedication was not something that anyone could compare to. The title of the #1 craftsman in King City was not undeserved. Give me the bow, Shui Gui said as he stretched out his hand. Yang Wu handed him the bow and the amber stone. Amber stone! Shui Gui exclaimed as he held the fist-sized crystal stone that contained the aura of a tiger. That's right. Inlay it into the bow. Yang Wu nodded and said, Good, very good. Shui Gui replied twice, and then began to reforge the fallen moon bow. A flame appeared in his palm and fell into the stone furnace. He then placed the fallen moon bow on top of it and began to burn it. Shui Gui's fire was a special kind of fire seed. It had already condensed into a substance, and was somewhat different from normal flames. This fire is a bit special, Yang Wu whispered softly. It's just a normal king-level fire seed. There's nothing special about it. Compared to your heart fire, it's not even trash. Little Hay transmitted. So my heart fire is this strong, Yang Wu said proudly. Little Hay rolled her eyes and looked at Yang Wu with disdain. She did not reply. 2 hours later, a simple stone hammer appeared in Shui Gui's hand, and he began hammering the fallen moon bow. Weapon forging 9 heavy strikes. Ding dang ding dang. This was a very impressive weapon forging technique. Every strike of the hammer was evenly distributed, causing sparks to fly from the fallen moon bow. Yang Wu watched Shui Gui forge like clouds and flowing water. It was very pleasing to the eye. He always felt that Shui Gui's forging was like cultivating. Not only was his Xian Qi accumulating, but his battle skills were also being refined. He wondered if this was just an illusion. Weapon forging Dao. If you can obtain a profound weapon forging technique, your future achievements will not be small. Little Hay said again. Then Little Hay, should we take him in? Yang Wu asked. You won't even let an old man like him go. Your taste is really heavy. Little Hay said in disgust. What are you thinking? I meant to take him in. Yang Wu was speechless. Forget it. There's no need to care about someone who wants to die. What do you mean? After a day of hammering, Shui Gui had used other materials to make up for the missing parts of the fallen moon bow. However, this was still not enough. It needed the power of the core to fully recover the bow, and the amber stone was the key to that. When his flames burned the amber stone, the progress was very slow. He sighed heavily and said, The amber stone contains the blood of the barbaric tiger. After it mutated, it became extremely hard. I'm afraid it will take a while to melt it. Is there a faster way? Yang Wu asked. There is. Unless there is a stronger flame that can melt it. Shui Gui said. Let me try. Do you have fire? Do you think this is fire? Chapter 295. Blue Yaoji was a type of heart flame, Yang Wu's innate potential. It was one of the top fire seeds. Even though it was still very weak, it was not hard for it to incinerate the amber stone. When Blue Demonis came into contact with the amber stone, it cracked open and a tiger roared at the sky. Shui Gui took the opportunity to take out a water bag and poured it on the amber stone. When the water cooled down, the amber stone quickly softened. He raised his hammer and smashed it. Heat. Cool. Heat. Cool. The same rhythm kept changing until the amber stone was finally hammered into a thumb-sized bead. Shui Gui directly placed it into the fallen moon bow. After doing all this, the next step was the delicate work. There was no need to use Yang Wu anymore. Shui Gui slowly polished the fallen moon bow, removing all the imperfections. He polished the bow until it was smooth and perfect. He strived for perfection in every part. Little Hay couldn't help but sigh and say, "This is an ingenious blacksmith. Even if he is only a low-level blacksmith, his spirit is very valuable." Yang Wu rarely heard Little Hay praise people. It was clear that Shui Gui was an excellent blacksmith. It took a total of 3 days to reforge the fallen moon bow. After finishing, Shui Gui called Yang Wu over and said, "Put your essence blood on this bow. It will be your personal weapon from now on." Yang Wu took the fallen moon bow and lightly touched the smooth and beautiful bow. He forced out a touch of blood and let it fall on the bow. The bow quietly emitted a completely different aura, as if there was a bow cry in response. There was even a flickering arrow light that pierced into the sky. It sounded like a tiger's roar, scaring the flying beasts to the point that they were on the verge of collapse and almost fell down on the spot. This was only the aura of the fallen moon bow, but it already had this kind of power. It was clear how extraordinary this bow was. "Good bow," Yang Wu praised from the bottom of his heart. "Treasure it well, I'm leaving," Shui Gui said, packed up his things, and left in an extremely carefree manner. Yang Wu wanted to persuade him to stay, but when he opened his mouth, he was too embarrassed to say it. The other party had already made up his mind. Whatever he said would be useless. "If you have the chance to see Little Fan again, please help me help him. He's just a kid who hasn't seen the world." Shui Gui's voice came from afar, as if he was saying his last words. When Yang Wu heard this, he felt an indescribable pain in his heart. Perhaps only he knew and understood whether or not Shui Gui was the disgrace of Great Xia. He was a respectable man. After Yang Wu carried the fallen moon bow, he brought Meng Bingxue and Little Hay to the Ice Wolf Valley. He still had to refine the Demon King pills for the other 2 demon wolves. Soon, it would be time to return to the Barbarian Suppression Army. Their group traveled at full speed and didn't waste any more time, and they returned to the Ice Wolf Valley in less than a day. Black Baran and Qing Lijie had returned to their ancestral lands 3 days ago to collect herbs. One day after Yang Wu returned to the Ice Wolf Valley, Black Baron and Qing Lijie carried bags of herbs over. It was obvious that they were very eager for the Demon King pills. Yang Wu didn't want to stay here for too long, so he put all his effort into refining the Demon King pills. After he reached the Middle-earth Sea realm, the power of the God's Court Dao flower greatly increased. His various methods were also improving. His alchemy methods were also improving. Furnace after furnace of Demon King pills were refined by him one after another. Yang Wu stayed here for a total of 7 days and 7 nights, refining a large amount of Demon King pills. This could be considered as a return gift to the 3 sky demons and a deep friendship with them. After doing all this, Yang Wu didn't rest much. He brought Meng Bingxue and the other 2 demon kings back to the Barbarian Suppression Army. The 2 demon kings were the silver-patterned tortoise and the fire-cloud tiger. After the silver-patterned tortoise refined the ice flood dragon's blood, its head became more and more like a flood dragon. Its blood chi was much stronger, and its battle talent had definitely become stronger. As for the fire cloud tiger, it had broken through to the Demon King realm. Its fire chi was incomparably dense, and it also displayed the extraordinary might of a tiger king. Both of them were very wild and incomparably ferocious. However, in front of Yang Wu, they were extremely docile and didn't dare to show the slightest bit of ferocity. They were improving, and Yang Wu's improvement was even more obvious. The king's aura that he constantly exuded suppressed them to the point that they were a little breathless. During this period of time, Yang Wu had spent a lot of time with heavenly demons. As a result, the aura that he condensed wasn't something that ordinary kings could compare to. Yang Wu left the Ice Wolf Valley by water. With the silver-patterned tortoise leading the way, Yang Wu, Meng Bingxue, Little Hay, the fire cloud tiger, and the dragon-blooded horse were all on its broad back. This time, the Fire Cloud Tiger wasn't as afraid of water as before. It was already a demon king and could soar into the sky. On the way, Yang Wu didn't waste the slightest bit of time. Not only did he circulate the 9 sovereign profundity techniques to absorb the dense water profound energy within the river, he even utilized his soul to ceaselessly cultivate the falling moon bow technique, and he strived to cultivate the first stage, sharpshooter, as soon as possible. The first stage wasn't difficult. As long as he had enough strength, eyesight, and coordination of his movements to perfection, he could quickly master it with his king realm cultivation. The second stage was a little more difficult. He had to grasp arrow intent in order to be able to shoot an arrow like the falling moon. He still had to slowly explore it. If he couldn't master the first stage, it was impossible for him to enter the second stage. After Yang Wu meditated for a while, he took out the oxhorn bow. Just like before, he used the falling moon bow arts movements and the method of regulating his breathing. He circulated his power and gathered it on his arms. The acupuncture points on his arms pulsated, and his potential power was stimulated. He aimed the ox-horn bow in a certain direction, and after fully drawing the bow, he released an arrow. Whoosh! The arrow was like a meteor as it shot towards the sky. 700 to 800 feet in the sky, a flying beast couldn't react in time and was pierced through the abdomen by the arrow. Blood dripped down from the sky. Only an expert like Yang Wu could achieve such a shooting range. Furthermore, it wasn't easy to aim at a flying beast at such a high altitude. The fact that he was able to hit the target with a single arrow showed that his archery skills were somewhat similar to the 100 steps arrow. However, Yang Wu knew that he was still some distance away from that step. He had to practice frequently. Out of 100 arrows, he had to accurately hit the target with more than 90 arrows to meet the requirements of this stage. Yang Wu continued to shoot arrows in different directions. He aimed at the leaves hundreds of feet away or the water demons that suddenly jumped up from the river. All of them became his targets along the way. Most of them were hit by him, and only a few missed. All of this was attributed to his strong sensing ability. His strong sensing ability was due to the Shenting's Tao flower. His mental strength dominated all of these abilities. Under these shooting practice sessions, he gradually became more adept at archery. As long as he practiced more, he would soon enter the realm of shooting from 100 paces. Soon a day passed. They left the water route and began to travel on land towards the barbarian army. Yang Wu wasn't in a hurry. He had to slowly wait for the barbarian army to take action. Only by cooperating with them could he achieve the effect he wanted. However, no matter how fast he rushed, he still returned to the vicinity of the barbarian army 2 days later. Yang Wu took out the old turtle's essence blood and said to the silver-patterned turtle, "Grandson turtle, can you sense what kind of blood this is?" The silver-patterned turtle licked its lips and said, "This is the strong essence blood of my clan's senior. Young master wants to bestow it to me?" "That's right, I want to bestow it to you. I'll also give you a demon king pill. Do you want it?" Yang Wu asked. Yes. Young master is too good." The silver-patterned turtle nodded and then took the initiative to grab the essence blood and pill. Unfortunately, it grabbed empty air. Yang Wu wouldn't give it the essence blood and pill so easily. "Take them and you have to obediently stay by my side in the future. You can't betray me in the slightest. Otherwise, even if you run to the ends of the earth, I'll kill you and make you into soup." Yang Wu said sternly. Yes. Grandson will definitely be obedient." The silver-patterned turtle nodded and said. Right now, even if Yang Wu chased it away, it still wouldn't want to leave. Yang Wu's potential was too great. He was also on good terms with the heavenly demon and possessed the Ice Flood Dragon's demon core. These were all things that the silver-patterned turtle wanted. It was very clear that only by following Yang Wu wholeheartedly would it be able to obtain these things. Therefore, it had already made its decision. "Very good. I'll give them to you." You can refine them here for the time being and increase your strength. Let the fire cloud tiger protect you. I'll bring you back to the royal city in the future." After speaking, Yang Wu gave the essence blood and pill to the silver-patterned turtle. He also left the fire cloud tiger behind. He rode on the dragon-blooded horse and brought Meng Bingxue and Little He back to the barbarian army. He was a vice-commander in the army. His position in the army was different from before. His attitude had also changed. The two of them rode on the dragon-blooded horse and walked leisurely. However, when he got close to the barbarian army, he felt a strange atmosphere. The soldiers who were guarding the place actually revealed a trace of a different aura to him. They didn't salute him immediately, which made him suspicious. Not long after, he arrived at the Death Legion's range. In the barbarian army, the Death Legion was guarding the first line of defense. Logically speaking, the Death Legion soldiers should be the first to welcome him. However, no one made the slightest movement. What happened? Yang Wu wondered in his heart. After a while, the Death Legion soldiers finally made a move. They surrounded Yang Wu one by one. They actually held their weapons and blocked Yang Wu's path. It didn't seem like a welcoming ceremony at all. Yang Wu focused his gaze and discovered that these soldiers weren't familiar faces. They weren't his original soldiers at all. "What are you doing? Don't you recognize me?" Yang Wu reprimanded. At this moment, a general's voice rang out, "Traitor Yang Wu, quickly dismount and surrender. What are you waiting for?" Chapter 296. Before Yang Wu returned to the barbarian army, Shou Ho defeated Yang Wu. He wanted to protect Yang Wu's reputation and firmly believed that Yang Wu was a traitor. Unfortunately, there was news that confirmed Yang Wu was in the barbarian race and was welcomed by the barbarian race. This was a secret sent back by the spies hidden in the barbarian race. Zhuo Yidao persuaded Shou Ho to leave, but Shou Ho refused. He alerted Fun Tianxiong and the other generals before they took him down. At that time, Shou Ho had truly gone berserk and turned into a battle monkey. His battle strength could be described as earth-shattering. Even Fun Tianxiong couldn't easily take him down in a one-on-one battle. He had to wait until the other generals worked together to seriously injure him. After Shou Ho was taken down, the Death Legion was detained and isolated. Everything would be settled after Yang Wu's matter was settled. After all, treason was a serious crime, and it was related to Yang Wu's matter. His influence was too great, and everyone was afraid that he would really rebel. Because of this, the army reacted. When Yang Wu returned, they took Yang Wu down. There were thousands of people surrounding Yang Wu. Unfortunately, these people couldn't stop him. He was a king who could fly in the sky. Without the help of other kings, no one could stop him. When Yang Wu heard the generals shout, he knew that his trip to the barbarian race had been exposed. However, he was not in a hurry. He said to the general who shouted at him, "You can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want. Quickly ask the marshal to come out and talk. Yang Wu, quickly surrender. Otherwise, don't blame us for being impolite." The general shouted again. Yang Wu ignored him and shouted in a direction, "Marshal Fun and the other generals, come out." After his voice fell, dozens of tyrannical auras came out from different directions. All of them locked onto Yang Wu. The tense atmosphere reached its peak. "Yang Wu, why did you betray the imperial court?" Fun Tianxiong walked out and asked faintly. "Marshal, why do you say that? I just went out to cultivate and you added such a big crime to me. I can't bear it." Yang Wu calmly replied. "Yang Wu, don't argue anymore. There are already people who know that you went to the barbarian clan, and you even met with Shuigui. Do you admit to this matter or not?" Fun Tianxiong said. Hearing this, Yang Wu knew that there were spies of Great Xia among the barbarians. It seemed like some barbarians had been bribed. Otherwise, how could this news be passed on? Yang Wu nodded and replied, "I did make a trip to the prairie and met with Shuigui. Just like that, I was convicted of treason?" Humph, you went into the prairie and came back unscathed. Even a licker would know that you betrayed the country. Southern Qi coldly snorted. That's right. Yang Wu, even if the imperial court is a little unfair to you, you can't let your emotions affect your decisions. You should just surrender. I believe that the imperial court will give you a chance to be lenient. Su Tinghong said with regret. He was very optimistic about Yang Wu, this young man. Unfortunately, Yang Wu went down the wrong path. His heart ached. The other generals also opened their mouths to persuade Yang Wu to surrender. They didn't want to start a war with Yang Wu. Yang Wu's killing methods were still vivid in their minds. Alas, now I finally know why Shuigui was labeled as a traitor. It was all because you couldn't distinguish between right and wrong. It really makes one feel heartbroken. Yang Wu shook his head and sighed with a pained expression. Yang Wu, stop pretending. If you don't surrender now, you'll die today. Jin Yan shouted at Yang Wu. Yang Wu looked at Jin Yan and asked, And who are you? I am the new commander of the Death Legion, Jin Yan said arrogantly. Previously, he had been defeated by Shou Ho, and he was unwilling to accept it. He planned to vent this anger on Yang Wu. Even the new commander has been arranged. What about my subordinates? Yang Wu asked. They've all been implicated by you and have been imprisoned. If you don't surrender now, they'll all die because of you, Jin Yan replied. He paused for a moment before adding, And your good brother, Skinny Monkey, has been taken down as well. He helped you gain the limelight. What a close brother. Yang Wu's face instantly turned cold. His murderous gaze pierced Jin Yan. Jin Yan immediately felt an unstoppable killing intent. It was as if it had stabbed into his heart, forcing him to take 2 steps back. You! Jin Yan came back to his senses. His face alternated between red and white. He was furious. He had long heard of Yang Wu's deeds, but he didn't think that Yang Wu was as terrifying as the rumors said. Especially after seeing how young Yang Wu was, he felt that the rumors were exaggerated. Now that he was forced to retreat by Yang Wu's gaze, he felt extremely embarrassed. If my brother loses a single hair, you'll all be buried with him. Yang Wu glanced around at the generals and said faintly. Yang Wu, it seems you don't want to surrender. Then I'll take you down, Southern Qi shouted. He raised his Southern Sky axe and swung it at Yang Wu. Previously, when he was defeated by Yang Wu, he had lost all his face. Now, he wanted to regain his dignity. Meng Bingxue, who stood behind Yang Wu, naturally wouldn't let Yang Wu be bullied. She wanted to intervene, but Yang Wu grabbed her hand and said, Don't do anything unless absolutely necessary. These people can't do anything to me. Just as the Southern Sky axe was about to chop Yang Wu into pieces, he pointed a finger at Southern Qi. Volcanic finger. As his strength increased, the power of his volcanic finger was boundless. He shot out a finger, and blue flames erupted like a volcano. They exploded in front of Southern Qi's axe. Boom! A powerful force exploded. Bursts of Xianqi splashed in all directions. Many generals acted to block this force to prevent others from being hurt. At this time, Southern Qi's body flew back uncontrollably. The Southern Sky axe in his hand flew out. He wasn't Yang Wu's opponent at all. However, Yang Wu didn't attack again. It wasn't time for him to completely fall out with the generals. After Southern Qi stabilized his body, he looked at his bleeding hands in a daze and said, You, how did you become so strong? A month ago, he was still able to fight fiercely with Yang Wu. Today, Yang Wu used a finger to make his weapon fly out of his hand. The distance between them was so obvious that it was a huge blow to him. When the generals saw this scene, they were also shocked. Who would have thought that Yang Wu would become so terrifying? General Fun, if I said that I persuaded the barbarian race to coexist peacefully with our great Xia, would you believe me? Yang Wu ignored Southern Qi and asked Fun Tianxiong. Fun Tianxiong was stunned. Before he could answer, Feng Tyson sneered and said, This joke doesn't seem to be funny at all. How can the matter between the two countries be child's play? Another general said with disbelief. Yang Wu, your words are hard to believe. Fen Tianxiong pondered for a moment and said, Since you don't believe it, then forget it. Just take it that I, Yang Wu, have committed treason. Yang Wu was extremely disappointed. He shook his head and rode away on the dragon-blooded horse. He couldn't explain everything he did. No matter how much he said, it would be useless. When the barbarian army came again, he believed that everything would be revealed. Yang Wu wants to leave. Everyone, stop him! Jin Yen shouted. He was only a deputy general, so he didn't have the authority to give orders. However, everyone knew that they had to capture Yang Wu first, so several generals made a move against Yang Wu. Yang Wu roared, General Fun, have you forgotten my master? When he said this, Fen Tianxiong hurriedly shouted, Stop, all of you stop. Let him go. General Fun, how can you do this? Jin Yen said with dissatisfaction. Bastard, are you the marshal or am I the marshal? Do you want to die? Fen Tianxiong glared at Jin Yen and scolded. He had seen how terrifying Yang Wu's mysterious master was. If he really forced Yang Wu to stay, he was afraid that it would cause a lot of trouble. He had to be careful about this matter. Several of the lieutenant generals present knew about this matter. They all remained silent and didn't make a move to stop Yang Wu. Yang Wu slowly rode on the dragon-blooded horse as the soldiers opened up a path for him. Their eyes were filled with respect and regret. Yang Wu was a young legend. Who would have thought that he would betray the country? After walking for a while, Yang Wugong stopped and said, General Fun, I've spared the lives of my brothers. In another half a month, the barbarian army will come and make peace with us. If this isn't true, then I, Yang Wugong, will commit suicide as an apology. Everyone's eyes twitched. They were seriously doubtful of Yang Wu's words. On the contrary, Chao Jianda said loudly, Yang Wu, don't worry. I, Chao Jianda, will protect the lives of the Death Legion for half a month. If any of the Death Legion soldiers are harmed, then I, Chao Jianda, will not let them live. Then I'll have to trouble you. Yang Wu turned around and cupped his hands towards Chao Jianda. Thus, he rode on the dragon-blooded horse and prepared to leave with Meng Bingxue and Little He. Unfortunately, the matter wasn't going to be resolved so easily. There were people who wouldn't let him go so easily. Among the soldiers, a powerful aura suddenly burst out and locked onto Yang Wu. Several king-level auras bombarded Yang Wu. Those attacks were incomparably sharp, and every single one of them was filled with dense killing intent. Bastard, who did this? Fen Tianxiong roared in anger. He, Yang Wu, you betrayed the country. You won't be able to escape death. Today you will be subdued. A sinister voice sounded out. That's right. No one dares to do anything to you, but that doesn't mean that we will let you go. You should stay. Another voice sounded out. Those attacks had already landed in front of Yang Wu. They wanted to blast Yang Wu to pieces on the spot. Yang Wu had already reacted. A powerful aura circulated around his body, and a battle armor appeared around him. He defended himself against the attacks and urged the dragon-blooded horse to run away from this place. He could sense that these people weren't simple. They were clearly here to kill him. Chapter 297. The dragon-blooded horse was only a fiend general. It was already quite impressive that it could withstand the aura of a king. It was even more difficult for it to run. Fortunately, Yang Wu and the dragon-blooded horse already had the experience of becoming one with the horse. With Yang Wu using the dragon turtle water suppression style, the dragon-blooded horse's hooves could fly. In addition, Meng Bingxue was protecting Yang Wu and the dragon-blooded horse. Yang Wu didn't want to start a massacre here. Otherwise, more soldiers would be attacked. Unfortunately, even though he was determined to not let Meng Bingxue take action, it wasn't that easy to escape. The people chasing after him were all king-level expert. Moreover, they were all very powerful. They weren't any weaker than the lieutenant generals. Yang Wu was already angry. After suffering these fierce attacks, he could no longer suppress his anger. He jumped off the dragon-blooded horse and shouted, "Bingxue, take the dragon-blooded horse and wait for me in front. I'll kill them all." Yang Wu decided to take action. He was afraid that he would suffer internal injuries if he continued to hold back. When Yang Wu soared into the sky, Meng Bingxue and the dragon-blooded horse were no longer cared about. Those people's target was still Yang Wu. Yang Wu's blue profound wings extended from his body. He held the double-blade triple dragon spear and looked at the kings who suddenly appeared. He found that these kings all had strange appearances. The killing intent released from their bodies was incomparably dense. He asked, "Who are you?" Fen Tianxiong and the others also wanted to ask this question. They didn't know when these 5 kings appeared in the army. "Hehe, I'm ranked 6th on the Black Hand leaderboard, Casanova Hua Fengchen." A king-level expert holding a fan of beauties sneered. This person was already middle-aged. He wore a scholar's hat and gently waved the fan of beauties. He looked very calm. "Ranked 7th, Yu Jinhua," a masked woman said coldly. This woman was holding a long sword. Her tight clothes wrapped around her exquisite figure, making her look incomparably sexy and moving. "Xia Holai, I'm here to take your dog life," a gloomy man holding a fire-colored spear said. "Lan Ku, Guan Fangjian." The other 2 people also reported their names one after another. They were both from the top 20 of the Black Hand list. Fear appeared on the faces of the generals when they heard their names. The people on the Black Hand list had always been the representatives of evil. Their hands were stained with the blood of countless people, and they were people who caused headaches for the imperial court. All of a sudden, 5 of them appeared here, all for Yang Wu. Needless to say, anyone could guess that Yang Wu must have provoked a great enemy, which was why they wanted his life so badly. "Everyone be on guard. If anyone dares to cause trouble in the barracks, kill without mercy," Fen Tianxiong loudly ordered. "Those on the Black Hand leaderboard, get the hell out of here," Su Tinghong said with disgust. "Evil people will be dealt with by evil people. Yang Wu is dead meat." Jin Yan sneered softly. The soldiers in the army quickly dispersed. They could not help, and staying here would only add to the casualties. Many of the generals gathered. They must not let the battle here affect their army. Yang Wu looked at them and asked in return, "You must have been sent by the people of King City, right?" Yang Wu had heard of the Black Hand list when he was in King City. However, he was still far away at that time, so he did not know much about it. He only knew that these people were famous evil people. They did not work for the imperial court and only recognized money, not people. Following his sudden rise, some people in the imperial court felt a sense of danger. They finally sent out this kind of killing formation to kill him. "Very good. After killing you, those people in King City will not be able to eat or sleep," Yang Wu said with a trace of malevolence. "You want to kill us all by yourself? How naive." Hua Fengchen laughed. "Let's go together and end this quickly," Yu Jinhua said coldly. She was the first to attack. She stabbed out with her sword, and it was like a man-eating flower had appeared, swallowing Yang Wu whole. Her battle strength had reached the peak of the intermediate Earth-Sea realm. She was only a step away from the advanced Earth-Sea realm. The power she could unleash was quite powerful. Xiaolai did not stay idle either. He raised his spear and furiously struck down at Yang Wu. A long spear shadow fell from the sky, like a flame dragging a long trail of flames. He wanted to kill Yang Wu in one blow. Lan Ku and Guan Fangjian also rushed out. One used a palm, while the other used a large saber. Their attacks were different, but their strength was already at the intermediate Earth-Sea realm. Their killing power was quite impressive. The 4 intermediate Earth-Sea realm kings attacked at the same time. The heaven and earth trembled. The colorful power exploded in the air like firework. Many of the generals were moved when they saw the king's attack. If this kind of power could be used by the army, it would greatly increase their strength. Hua Fengchen was an advanced king. He disdained to make a move. His gaze was on Meng Bingxue. He murmured with greed, "What a superb woman! She should belong to me." Then, he ignored Yang Wu and headed in Meng Bingshue's direction. Yang Wu did not pay attention to him. If he knew that he was so bold, he could not help but sigh, "This child is really brave." At this moment, Yang Wu was facing these attacks. He waved his double-edged tri-dragon spear and sent the attacks flying. The power of opponents at the same level was no threat to him. Eugene Hua rushed behind Yang Wu and delivered a fatal blow. The tip of her sword was like a man-eating flower that swallowed Yang Wu. The other three also used their ultimate move. They had to kill Yang Wu in the shortest time possible to avoid any accident. "You're all in a hurry to die. Then I'll send all of you on your way," Yang Wu said coldly. The death intent of the divine court Dao flower flashed. A formless death intent spread out in all directions, affecting the vitality of all living things within 1,000 feet. The man-eating flower that was ambushed by Eugene Hua withered inexplicably, and its attacks weakened. The same happened to the other three. They felt a strong sense of death from the bottom of their feet all the way to their Tianling acupoints. They felt a chill run through their bodies, and their lives seemed to be disappearing. The terror of death attacked their nerves, causing them to panic and stop attacking. Yang Wu turned around and grabbed Eugene Hua. He didn't even look at what Eugene Hua looked like. He exerted his strength and broke her neck on the spot. Crack! The crisp sound pierced the ears of the generals. It was like ice piercing into their bones. Their hair stood on end. In addition, the other three snapped to their senses and realized that Eugene Hua had withered in front of them. The fear of death struck them once again. They gulped and prepared to kill Yang Wu once again. However, the death intent was still wreaking havoc on their divine court souls. It left them terrified. "All of you, accompany her on her way." Yang Wu's ice blade wings appeared as his speed instantly increased. He first appeared above Xiahou Lai's head. With a slash of the double-blade triple dragon spear, he blasted Xiahou Lai's head apart. Lan Ku and Guan Fangjian were completely flustered. "Quick, run!" Lan Ku did not even think as he turned and quickly retreated. Guan Fangjian was not slow either. He wished he had been born with 2 legs. Their opponent was just too powerful. They were no match for him. Staying behind would only be sending them to their death. They were very fast, but how could they compare to Yang Wu? Yang Wu's ice blade wings shimmered as they carried extreme frost chi. They slashed at Lan Ku's waist, cleaving him in half on the spot. Blood splattered in midair. It was a ghastly sight. "I'll let you have a taste of the might of my archery." Yang Wu stared at Guan Fangjian, who was already several hundred feet away. A horn bow appeared in his hand, and an arrow appeared in his hand. He pulled the horn bow to its limit, and an arrow shot out like a shooting star. But when the horn bow shot out the arrow, it could not withstand the strength of Yang Wu's barbaric god arm. It snapped, and the arrow had already penetrated Guan Fangjian's armor, killing him in midair. 4 mid-level kings were killed by Yang Wu in just a few blinks of an eye. All the generals were shocked. They were all glad that they did not act recklessly. If they forced Yang Wu into a corner, Yang Wu would have killed them all like this. In front of absolute power, it did not matter how many people there were. Jin Yan was scared out of his wits. His face was completely pale. If he had attacked Yang Wu just now, he would have been a corpse by now. How can he be so strong? Jin Yan thought to himself, unable to accept this. His legs were trembling, and he felt like he was about to pee his pants. Fen Tianxiong also wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. He smiled bitterly in his heart and said, "This kid's improvement is too fast. As expected of a genius with a backer. How can the Grand Xia Empire stop this flood dragon from soaring into the sky? We can't go against him." Even though Fen Tianxiong was a peak-level king, it would not be so easy for him to kill 4 mid-level kings. He also felt that Yang Wu's use of the Tao of Death was even more terrifying than the Rose of Death. If he and Yang Wu fought, it was hard to say who would win. He could not help but think of the skinny monkey. That young man with the bloodline of the demonic race was also very strong. If these two brothers worked together, they would be able to do whatever they wanted in the transcendent realm. In another direction, something even more terrifying was happening. Hua Fouchen went to tease Meng Bingxue. He waved the beauty fan and said, "Beauty, spend the night with me tonight." Hua Fouchen was very direct and felt that it was very domineering. He believed that if he was a high-level king, this beauty would obediently submit to him. However, just as he finished speaking, a gust of cold air swept over, and a layer of crystal quickly spread over his body, freezing him into an ice sculpture, and he could no longer move. When some people noticed this strange movement, they were all frightened out of their wit. Hua Fouchen was a powerhouse ranked 6th on the Black Hand ranking. He was even stronger than Yu Jinhua. How could he be turned into an ice sculpture? At this moment, their gazes all fell on the white-robed woman. They could faintly feel a wave of cold air sweep over them, causing them to involuntarily retreat quite a bit. This was a terrifying heavenly woman. Chapter 298. It was spring, and the weather was gradually becoming warmer. It was not like winter, when snow was falling and the cold air was threatening. However, before the Death Legion arrived, there was a wave of coldness that completely enveloped the bodies of the generals, causing them to be stunned on the spot for a long time. In front of them, there was an unmelted ice sculpture that was so eye-catching. It was emitting traces of cold air, causing people to not dare to approach. This ice sculpture was a living person, and his expression and actions were very lively. There was no way it could be fake. If this was just an ordinary soldier who had been frozen to death here, no one would even look at him. However, the frozen person in front of them was not so simple. He was the playboy Hua Fouchen, who was ranked in the top 6 of the Black Hand list. Hua Fouchen had committed a total of 88 crimes. He had killed officials, robbed merchants, and killed kings. He had done many evil things, especially to beautiful women. Many of them had been harmed by him. The fact that he was able to live a carefree life proved that his methods were superb and he was powerful. In the Grand Xia, there were no more than 100 people who could reach the high level of King Realm. This group of people represented the highest level of martial strength in the Grand Xia. Right now, this King Stage powerhouse had been frozen into an ice sculpture in just a blink of an eye. How frightening was that? Fen Tianxiong was a top king-level expert, but he did not have the ability to take down Hua Fouchen in a single move. From this, it could be seen that Hua Fouchen was frozen by a powerful cultivator. For half a month, I don't want any harm to come to my brothers and subordinate. If anything happens to them, you will end up like him. After Yang Wu said this, he took the valuables from the corpses of the Black Hand list and quietly left with Meng Bingxue. No one dared to say anything else. They quietly watched the two figures leave, unable to calm down for a long time. A heavenly realm woman. Someone sighed heavily and broke the silence. Fen Tianxiong came back to his senses and ordered, "Sun Do and the Death Legion cannot be harmed. If anything happens to anyone, I will kill them." Jin Yan shivered and replied, "Yes, Marshal." In fact, he was already crying in his heart. Although he didn't kill the members of the Death Legion, he did torture them. What should he do? Once Yang Wu returned, he would definitely be the first to find trouble with him. Go back and prepare for battle immediately. Chao Jinda gave the order. "What do we fight?" a general asked. "Didn't you hear what Yang Wu said? Within half a month, I'm afraid that the barbarian race's army will be pressing on our borders. If we don't prepare now, it will be too late," Chao Jinda said. Then, he ignored the other generals and left first. Chao Jinda's actions were very clear. He believed in Yang Wu and placed everything on Yang Wu. If Yang Wu was not wrong, then he was not wrong. If Yang Wu was wrong, then not only him, but the entire Chao family would be completely finished. Risks and rewards coexisted in this risky business. Fen Tianxiong did not expect Chao Jindao to have such courage, and felt depressed in his heart. There are people in the imperial court who want to get rid of Yang Wu, and this old fox Chao Jindao still dares to do this. Is he trying to provoke me? Yang Wu brought Meng Bingxue back to find the silver-patterned tortoise and fire cloud tiger, and brought them deep into the mountain range. This time, he decided not to appear before the barbarian army arrived. Little Wu, it's rare that you're not impulsive this time, Little He said while lying on Yang Wu's shoulder. What do you mean I'm not impulsive? Yang Wu asked. If this happened half a year ago, you would have killed your way in to save Shou Ho. Now you're able to restrain yourself from saving him. It's already a big improvement. Then why don't you think I'm heartless? I can even disregard my brother's life. How can this immortal emperor not see through your little tricks? You and this woman purposely showed them a move to intimidate them. It's already very obvious. Yes, as expected, nothing can escape your eyes. Now, it's time for them to panic. Yang Wu entered a nameless valley. There were some spirit demons roaming around here. When the fire cloud tiger roared, these spirit demons were all frightened and fled in all directions. Several spirit demons were killed by the fire cloud tiger. After taking one for himself, he brought the rest to Yang Wu. Yang Wu roasted the spirit demons and ate. At the same time, he was thinking about what to do next. Everyone in the barbarian army knew that he had entered the barbarian army and returned safely. They had already determined that he was a traitor of the Great Xia. He believed that King City would soon receive this news, and his family's lives would be in danger. Fortunately, this time, there were some reckless people who cooperated with him. They allowed him and Meng Bingxue to show off their skills in front of the barbarian army. He believed that some people would have some misgivings and wouldn't dare to go too far. His parents' safety was also guaranteed. Now, what he needed to do was to wait calmly. When the barbarian army received the news, someone would definitely invite him back. He simply calmed down and cultivated his battle skills to increase his combat strength. He was prepared to return to King City. He had already mastered the volcanic finger to perfection. This was an emperor-level skill. It was very powerful, but the attack method was too simple. The sevenfold wild waves was a king skill that had been perfected. He had cultivated the first 3 moves to the great accomplishment stage, and the last 4 moves to the proficient stage. He could enter the great accomplishment stage at any time. He focused on this battle skill and used the soul-body fusion technique to cultivate this battle skill to the perfect stage as soon as possible. The Barbarian Beast Fist and Falling Moon Bow Art were 2 powerful battle skills. 2 days later, every move of the sevenfold wild waves had been successfully cultivated by Yang Wu to the great success stage. The power of each move was already very strong. It wasn't so easy to reach perfection, and he needed some time to cultivate. Yang Wu wanted to cultivate the battle skill to perfection, but Little He interrupted his cultivation. Little Wu, don't be in a hurry to cultivate. Let's talk. Little He said while lying lazily on a rock and basking in the sun. Okay. Yang Wu stopped cultivating and replied. You've already collected 2 types of mysterious essence qi, but you still have 7 types. Otherwise, you'll be stuck at your current level and won't be able to make any progress. You should think about how to find the 3rd type. Little He said seriously. I've been thinking about this for a long time. Moreover, I already have a lead on the 3rd type. Woof, is that true? Yang Wu took out the ancient bronze eye and told Little He about some of the images he had obtained from it. He had taken the ancient bronze eye from a young king. He had never mentioned this to Little He, but now that Little He asked, he remembered to tell it. Little He jumped over and grabbed the ancient bronze eye. It flipped it around, and its canine eyes flashed as it said, "This thing has an extraordinary origin. Can you see anything? Yang Wu asked. Little He replied, This ancient bronze eye is made from the same material as your bronze cauldron. It's been separated by countless years. Yang Wu revealed a look of shock as he said, It has such an ancient origin? Yes. If this place really does contain mysterious essence qi, then it must have an extraordinary origin. If you try to touch it with your current strength, then you'll definitely die. Little He said seriously. So what? Aren't I still going to find it? Yang Wu shrugged. Although that's the case, you can look for it later. Some of the 9 types of mysterious essence qi are relatively easy to collect, such as the ancestor qi and frost spring qi you encountered. Little He said. After a pause it continued, You can take this matter to heart. Right now I want to tell you that at your current level you also need to improve to the limit. Don't blindly pursue breakthroughs. Why do you say this? Yang Wu asked. All powerful peerless geniuses will pursue perfection in every realm. It's just like how you cultivate battle skills. Minute subtlety, proficiency, large success, and perfection. It's the same for realms. Normal people will constantly try to break through as long as they have the chance. They don't care about the stability of their foundations. This kind of breakthrough will often cause them to feel powerless at the critical juncture. If every realm is perfect, then your future will be truly limitless. Little He explained. Then it continued, Right now your realm is still at a low level. The more you need to perfect your foundation, the more you need to surpass the limit. When you were on the heavenly stairway, did you realize that your potential was being squeezed out again and again? You must have gained a lot of benefits. Yang Wu nodded and said, That's right. I feel that I have limitless potential. Then what should I do to achieve a perfect breakthrough? The lower realms are still about the refinement of the body. You already have a spotless body and have unlocked your innate potential. What you need to do is much simpler than ordinary people. You just need to strengthen these potential innate talents one by one and refine them into your ultimate killer move. Ultimate killer move. It sounds very scary. Nonsense. Every potential innate talent represents a killer move. If you use it well, it's easy to kill people who are higher realms than you. Then what should I do? You're asking me about this. Who should I ask? I'll figure it out myself. Yang Wu fell into deep thought. He really didn't think of using his potential innate talents to become an ultimate killer move. Now, after Little He's reminder, he felt that it was necessary to carefully think about the use of his potential innate talents. Right now, he had several potential innate talents. They were Wind God's legs, Ice Blade wings, Blue Enchantress, and Barbaric God's arms. There was also his sole potential innate talent. Because of the existence of the God's Court Dao flower, he still didn't know how to use it. Wind God's legs could increase his running speed. Ice Blade wings could increase his flying speed. In addition, it could be used as a sharp blade to launch a sneak attack. Blue Enchantress was Heartfire, which could be used to refine pills. The power of the flame seemed to be quite good, but he didn't know how to use its lethality. Barbaric God's arms could allow him to cultivate Barbaric Fist and Falling Moon Bow technique. Chapter 299. Potential innate talent was the hidden ability of every person. It represented that a person was outstanding in a certain field, and could unleash power that others could not. This kind of innate talent was like someone who was very good at reading, someone who was very good at playing the zither, someone who had very good eyesight, someone who had very good hearing. These were all innate talents that belonged to an individual. Yang Wu being able to awaken so many potential innate talents was definitely very terrifying. It was something that others could not even dream of. It was just that he had never paid much attention to these potential innate talents. Now that he heard Little He's reminder, he felt like he had been enlightened. He really did want to study them properly, and use them as his ultimate trump card. No matter how high level or powerful other battle techniques were, they would not be able to unleash the power of his own potential innate talent. They would be more perfect and powerful. Thus, Yang Wu calmed down and started to study these potential innate talents. He should be able to reap some unexpected benefit. First, he started to study Wind God's Kick. This was the potential innate talent that he had awakened in the beginning. Wind God's Kick was a speed potential innate talent that could help him run faster. Now that he could fly, his running speed did not seem to be as fast as his flying speed, so what was the advantage of this potential innate talent? Yang Wu pondered and channeled his celestial qi into his feet. He felt the changes in the power under his feet and thought about how he could unleash its advantage. Could it be that Wind God's Kick has no other advantages other than speed? That's impossible. Can also increase the power of the legs, and it should have a very good effect on leg techniques, just like the barbaric god's arm. There's no mistaking it. After thinking for a while, Yang Wu had a new idea. Thus, he began to move his legs. Scimitar kick was a general skill and also a leg technique. Yang Wu had already cultivated it to perfection. He could continuously kick out 49 variations, and its damage was extraordinary. It was an offensive leg technique, and could also increase his speed to a certain extent. Yang Wu wanted to integrate Wind God's Kick into Scimitar Kick. He wanted to see if he could increase the power of Scimitar Kick. If he could, it might be a way to unlock his potential. Yang Wu adjusted his movements and continuously kicked his legs. Up and down, left and right, spinning and flipping. Every movement displayed the perfect variation of Scimitar Kick. Each variation had a different destructive power. In the beginning, he was unable to fuse the Wind God's Kick with his innate skill. He always felt that he was missing an opportunity. Suddenly, a light flashed in his mind. He captured the source of Wind God's Kick's awakening. It was the Yongquan acupoint under his left and right feet. They were emitting a bright light. Compared to the other acupoints, they were brighter and contained more power. Without thinking, he activated the power of the Yongquan acupoint to stimulate Scimitar Kick's attack. In an instant, the power of Scimitar Kick's attack skyrocketed. Bang bang! Wherever Scimitar Kick's power went, rocks exploded and trees collapsed. The increase in power had more than doubled. Yang Wu still didn't know. He was immersed in this pleasure. He found that by fully activating the power of the Yongquan acupoint, his legs became incomparably nimble. The power in his meridians became even more powerful and smooth. Whoosh whoosh. Shadow after shadow of a leg kicked out. The speed was so fast that it made people speechless. This was definitely much faster than before. After integrating Wind God's Kick's talent into Scimitar Kick, the power of Scimitar Kick had already surpassed the feeling of a general skill. It was simply terrifying. At this moment, Yang Wu felt that Scimitar Kick's combat skill was comparable to any imperial skill. This feeling was wonderful. It was as if his legs were as nimble as his hands. He could kick however he wanted to, and he could reach the most perfect and powerful state. This was the change brought about by Wind God's Kick's potential talent. It could increase the attack speed and power of Scimitar Kick, increasing the power of Scimitar Kick in all aspects. After Yang Wu stopped, he looked around at the messy place he had destroyed. He couldn't help but laugh. As expected, there's a potential talent waiting to be unearthed. It feels so good. He was very clear that this was definitely not the true effect of the potential talent. It couldn't be his ultimate killer move. He still needed to explore further. With a good start, he believed that there would be a good result. Therefore, in the next few days, he was immersed in the joy of exploring his potential talent. The barbarian army finally arrived. The barbarian army was brave and good at fighting. They had long been deeply ingrained in the hearts of the people of Great Xia. The people of Great Xia were very afraid that the barbarian army would kill their way into Great Xia's territory one day. The barbarian army's combat talent was too strong. If it wasn't for the fact that Great Xia had more people than the barbarian army and the emergence of outstanding talents, Great Xia would have already fallen into the hands of the barbarian army. This time, the barbarian army mobilized 200,000 soldiers, which was 100,000 more than the previous time. Moreover, some barbarian kings who were in seclusion had all come out. They even brought a large number of spirit-level demonic beasts with them. This surging momentum shocked the barbarian army. They all felt that the barbarian army was really going to have a showdown with Great Xia. Last time, the barbarian army mobilized 100,000 soldiers and horses and almost defeated them. If it wasn't for Yang Wu's timely appearance to turn the tide, they would have really fallen. This time, Great Xia no longer had Yang Wu. Furthermore, the barbarian army's military strength was even more terrifying. How were they going to withstand the barbarian army's pressure? Fen Tianxiong and the rest were already prepared. However, their hearts were extremely heavy. If the barbarian army's military strength was the same as the previous time, they could still resist. However, the barbarian army's military strength had doubled, which was even more than theirs. How were they going to fight this battle? Apart from that, there was also an army of tens of thousands of spirit-level demonic beasts. This was also a great threat. They couldn't figure out how so many spirit-level demonic beasts could charge through the Wolf Smoke Mountain Range. The Wolf Smoke Mountain Range was the territory of the Wolf Clan. The large-scale spirit-level demonic beasts had to respect them. If the spirit-level demonic beasts of the grasslands wanted to cross the Wolf Clan's territory, it would undoubtedly be a provocation and they would be attacked by the Wolf Clan. However, it was different this time. Those spirit-level demonic beasts weren't attacked by the Wolf Clan. This was extremely strange. Fen Tianxiong gathered all of his military strength and suppressed the front of the mountain range. He was prepared to fight at any time. At the same time, he sent people to rush back to Monarch City at full speed to ask for help. He was afraid that they wouldn't be able to withstand the barbarian cavalry. Just as Fen Tianxiong got into position to fight the barbarian army didn't charge over. Instead, they stopped in the middle of the mountain range and sent someone out to shout, "People of Great Xia, listen up. The barbarian race is willing to coexist peacefully with Great Xia. Quickly send a representative out to negotiate peace with us." Huang Fu Dalong's loud and clear voice reverberated throughout the barbarian army. All of the barbarian army soldiers heard it. They all wondered if they had heard wrongly. The barbarian race wants to negotiate peace. Is this true? Did I hear wrongly? I think I heard it too. Could this be their evil scheme? Why would the barbarian race take the initiative to negotiate peace? That's right. It must be a scheme. We can't fall for it. Let's fight it out with them. Do they really think that we, the people of Great Xia, are pushovers? Many of the soldiers didn't believe what they had heard. Instead, they felt that this might be a scheme of the barbarian race. The barbarian race wants to negotiate peace? Fen Tianxiong soared into the sky and asked Huang Fu Dalong. We, the barbarian race, always keep our word. If we say we want to negotiate peace, then we will negotiate peace. However, we have a condition. Huang Fu Dalong coldly snorted. His voice resounded in Fen Tianxiong's ears, causing Fen Tianxiong's ears to hurt. When Fen Tianxiong realized that the other party was a powerhouse of the heavenly fish realm, his expression became even more unsightly. What condition? Fen Tianxiong asked. The only person who can sign a peace contract with us can only be Yang Wu. It's useless for anyone else to sign it with us. Huang Fu Dalong said. Just this condition? Fen Tianxiong asked again. That's right. Quickly call Yang Wu over. We will negotiate peace with him and guarantee that we will stop fighting with the people of Great Xia within 10 years. Huang Fu Dalong said again with certainty. Yang Wu is indeed a traitor. He and the barbarian race must be plotting something. After Feng Tyson heard Huang Fu Dalong's words, he couldn't help but snort coldly. That must be it. Otherwise, why would the barbarian race make such a request? It's simply child's play. Another general said, "Barbarian, don't treat us like 3-year-old children. The matter of Yang Wu colluding with the barbarian race has been exposed. Don't play any more tricks." Someone shouted. This time, Huang Fu Dalong understood. He was puzzled in his heart. Brother Yang Wu's plan has failed. It seems that there needs to be a change. A bunch of ignorant people. Huang Fu Dalong couldn't help but scold these people in front of him. "We have exposed your plot. You must be angry," Feng Tyson said. "Who do you think you are? Are you worthy of my anger?" Huang Fu Dalong shouted and waved his palm toward Feng Tyson, who was 200 feet away. Huang Fu Dalong was a powerhouse of the heavenly realm. His attack was so fast that it was impossible for Feng Tyson to dodge it. Slap! A crisp sound rang out, and Feng Tyson's entire face was slapped crooked. At this moment, all the kings of Great Xia became nervous. They were completely in a state of battle, but their hearts were beating like drums. How could they fight with someone of this level? Even a powerhouse of the heavenly realm wants to get involved in the war? Do you really think that there are no heavenly realm powerhouses in Great Xia? Fen Tianxiong shouted at Huang Fu Dalong. "I don't care if there are any heavenly realm powerhouses in Great Xia. In short, if Yang Wu doesn't sign a contract with us within 7 days, we will immediately attack and occupy Great Xia." After Huang Fu Dalong threw out this sentence, he quickly returned to the barbarian army. Chapter 300. The barbarian army had a total of 200,000 soldiers gathered together. They were mighty and powerful, and there were waves of spirit beasts crying out, shocking the heavens. The aura of the barbarian army's 180,000 soldiers was completely suppressed. Especially after Huang Fu Dalong made his move, everyone felt the pressure increase. Normally, when a Heaven Realm expert went to war, it meant that the two countries had entered the final stage of the battle. The barbarians were very determined this time. Either they really wanted to negotiate peace, or they really wanted to start a war and kill each other to the end. No matter what the situation was, Yang Wu was the true key. Fen Tianxiong and the other generals were in a temporary meeting. Their expressions were incomparably serious, and the pressure was obvious. "Marshal, the barbarians' words can't be trusted. Why don't we attack now?" A general suggested. "That's right. With our military strength, we don't have to be afraid of them." Jin Yen agreed. "If you can deal with the enemy's Heaven Realm expert, then I'll start the war." Fen Tianxiong frowned and said lightly. This time, everyone was speechless. After a while, Su Tinghong said, "I've already sent people back to report to the Imperial Court. These 7 days are just enough for the Imperial Court to send reinforcements. I think that if we find Yang Wu, everything can be solved." Chao Jinda said. "Yang Wu is a traitor. This is already a very obvious fact. Old Chao, why do you still believe him?" Nan Chi Chin said angrily. "Why do you think he's a traitor?" "I think that the barbarians came with sincerity this time," Chao Jinda retorted. "The barbarians have been fighting with us for more than 100 years. If they were so easy to talk to, then they wouldn't be the barbarians. How can Yang Wu make them stop fighting with us for 10 years? I think you've been bought over by his pills." Nan Chi Chin argued with Chao Jinda. When Chao Jinda wanted to respond, Fen Tianxiong loudly said, "Enough. Now is not the time to argue. We should all be on guard and be ready to fight. We'll argue when the Imperial Court's reinforcements arrive." After a pause, he continued, "Old Chao, send someone to find Yang Wu's whereabouts. He was the one who started this, so I'm afraid he'll have to clean up this mess in the end." "Okay, I'll send someone to find him, but I can't guarantee that he'll be willing to come back." Chao Jinda didn't refuse. On the barbarian army's side, not only had Huang Fu Dalong come, even Huang Fu Zhanxiong had personally come once again. It could be seen that he attached great importance to this matter. Huang Fu Dalong brought the news back to Huang Fu Zhanxiong. After Huang Fu Zhanxiong heard it, he laughed and said, "That's great, that's great. That's right. If the people of Great Xia really believe that Brother Yang Wu is a traitor, he might be able to join us barbarians and strengthen our tribe, Huang Fu Dalong said with a smile. How could it be that easy? However, we still have to try. Brother Yang Wu was able to obtain the recognition of the three Lord Protectors. It is not that simple. Huang Fu Zhanxiong said. I've already said that if we don't see Yang Wu in 7 days, we will attack. I believe that Great Xia will ask for help. How should we deal with this? Huang Fu Delong asked. It doesn't matter who Great Xia sends. This matter must be carried out. Huang Fu Zhanxiong said. Then we're still going to attack? Let's wait and see first. I feel that Brother Yang Wu might come to us to discuss this matter. Great Xia Imperial City. In the Golden Luan Palace, the Emperor of Great Xia gathered all the civil and military officials for an emergency meeting. Today, the barbarians are leading an army of 200,000. Do you have any good plans? The Emperor of Great Xia asked in a deep voice. Your Majesty, the barbarians have just suffered a great defeat and they still dare to invade. Do they really think that there is no one in Great Xia who can fight them? I believe that Marshal Fun will definitely have a plan to repel the enemy. A civil official stood out and said. That's right. Marshal Fun is very powerful and his ability to lead an army is unmatched. With him overseeing the border, it will be difficult for the barbarians to advance north. Another person said. General Luo Gongming stood out and snorted coldly. Nonsense. Even if Fun Tianxiong has 3 heads and 6 arms, he won't be able to block the attack of a Heaven Realm expert. As long as he dies, our army will be in chaos. Therefore, we must send out Heaven Realm experts to support us. Otherwise, it will be difficult to defend the border. General Luo is right. Your Majesty, please send out Heaven Realm experts to suppress the border. A military official stood out and agreed. Permitted. The Emperor agreed without thinking. Immediately after, he said, however, there is something fishy about the barbarians' attack. It is rumored that it is related to our Deputy General Yang Wu. What do you all think? Yang Wu is a traitor and should be executed. Someone immediately replied aggressively. That's right. We should have killed him back then. Now, we have nurtured a tiger that will only invite calamity. I suggest that we first kill Yang Zhenan and his wife, then kill all 9 generations of their family. These civil and military officials had already received the agenda. They knew that the barbarians' attack was all because of Yang Wu. On the surface, it was said that they were seeking peace. However, in reality, they were cooperating with the outside, which was disadvantageous to Great Xia. Among them, there were also some people who were deliberately fanning the flames. They were determined to pin the crime of treason on Yang Wu so that they could feel at ease. The Emperor of Grand Xia revealed a solemn expression. The news he received was not limited to this. He heard that Yang Wu was suspected to have a Heaven Realm cultivator protecting him, and that he also had a mysterious master. All kinds of signs indicated that Yang Wu had already obtained a heaven-shaking opportunity, and it was not something that could be suppressed by worldly affairs. If the Emperor of Grand Xia really treated Yang Wu like this, it would probably cause quite a lot of trouble. Although he had someone backing him up, it did not mean that he could remain indifferent when faced with a threat from a Heaven Realm expert. At this moment, a loud and clear voice rang out from the palace. Sinner Shuigui requests an audience with your Majesty. Sinner Shuigui. These 4 words were like a bolt from the blue, causing the entire palace to explode. 10 years ago, the #1 weapon refinement master in Royal City, Shuigui, was also pinned with the crime of treason in this hall. From then on, the weapon refining pavilion was implicated. Many of his disciples and grand-disciples were either killed or imprisoned. Almost all of them were wiped out in one fell swoop. He was the only one who barely managed to carve out a bloody path and escape to a foreign tribe. Over the years, Shuigui had become the disgrace of Great Xia, and this was deeply ingrained in the hearts of the people. Everyone thought of him as a traitor who had colluded with the enemy, betrayed the country, and killed his fellow countrymen. They also used him as a warning to their future generations. It could be said that his notoriety spread far and wide. After Shwe Gui went into hiding with the barbarians, he gradually faded out of sight in the imperial court, and almost no one talked about him anymore. After all, Shwe Gui did not help the barbarians deal with Great Xia. Or perhaps it was because everyone knew that Shwe Gui had fallen to such a state because he was in the limelight and was hated by others. Therefore, no one wanted to mention him. But now, Shwe Gui had openly returned outside the imperial palace, which shocked everyone. The commanders of the imperial guards guarding the palace led hundreds of men and quickly surrounded Shwe Gui. Before these people could stop him, Shwe Gui had already charged through their encirclement on his wild red rabbit horse, using the realm of man and horse as one, and headed for the gate of the palace. Everyone, shoot arrows and kill this traitor. An imperial guard commander ordered. In the blink of an eye, countless arrows shot towards Shwe Gui. Clink, clink, clink. These arrows were very powerful, and they were all shot by martial artists in the general realm. However, when they landed on Shwe Gui's body, they all made clink sounds and broke. There was no way for them to penetrate Shwe Gui's defensive mystical chi armor. "I'm only here to see His Majesty. Don't force me," Shwe Gui said coldly as he rode on his wild red rabbit horse. "How dare you, Shwe Gui? You still have the face to come back. Today I, Meng Helong, will capture you alive." Meng Helong, who was already one of the commanders of the Imperial Guards, immediately rushed over and killed Shwe Gui. Meng Helong was already a genuine king of the initial Earth-Sea realm. His combat strength was quite impressive, and he had already consolidated in the king realm for some time. Meng Helong had no intention of holding back at all. He used his ultimate move as soon as he attacked. It was like a torrential river rushing toward Shwe Gui. Scram! Shwe Gui didn't even look at Meng Helong. He just struck out with his palm. A flame appeared and smashed Meng Helong's attack into powder on the spot. There was even a palm print aimed at Meng Helong's chest. Meng Helong's body flew backward, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He crashed heavily dozens of feet away, and it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. 10 years ago, Shwe Gui was one of the top 10 masters in Royal City. Even though there were new talents in the current generation, they were still too inexperienced compared to a veteran king like him. "Shwe Gui, you traitor! You still have the guts to come back to Royal City. You're courting death!" A king roared angrily. In the next moment, what sounded like the cry of an eagle rang out. The aura of 2 eagles appeared. 2 people riding 2 eagle kings blocked Shwe Gui's path. They were the first and second commanders of the Eagle Cavalry. The first commander was the Little Eagle King, and the second commander was the Thunder Eagle Xiejian. The former was a mid-king realm king, while the latter was infinitely close to it. In addition, the great commander of the Imperial Guards, Zhu Mo, also appeared. His strength wasn't inferior to Xiejian's at all. He was riding a tiger-shaped boar king, which was a mutated spirit beast with special abilities. After Shwe Gui spoke, there were already a few kings blocking his path. It was enough to see how strict the palace's security was. However, they were only blocking the way on the surface. A few hidden forces had also arrived. As long as Shwe Gui dared to take half a step forward, they would appear and exterminate him. "Move aside. I want to ask the Emperor." Shwe Gui looked coldly at the 3 kings blocking his path and spoke faintly. "Shwe Gui, you traitor, you still have the face to come back. Today, your blood will splatter everywhere." The Thunder Eagle Xiejian pointed his thunder blade at Shwe Gui and shouted. Xiejian was about 45 years old. He had a dignified appearance and wore battle armor. There was a war band on his head, and his body was suffused with lightning Xian Qi. He was filled with a righteous aura. "Shwe Gui, don't make a pointless struggle. Today, you must have come with the intention of dying. You might as well atone for your crimes with your death. The little Eagle King said faintly. Guo Shiling was a few years younger than Xiezhen. He was the favorite disciple of the white-browed Eagle King, one of the top 10 kings of the previous generation. He controlled the Eagle Cavalry and guarded every corner of the imperial city. On the other side, Zhu Mo, as the commander of the Imperial Guards, had a total of 2,000 people behind him. They had already prepared their heavy bows and were ready for battle. Shui Gui looked at them coldly and slowly took out a battle weapon from his back. If you want to stop me, then answer my first question. What crimes have I, Shui Gui, committed? As soon as he finished speaking, the battle weapon instantly soared into the sky. Ask one sword. Chapter 301. Asking one sword, Seeking Grievances. Its name was Seeking Grievances Sword. Seeking Grievances Sword was a top-notch king sword that was polished from 13 king-level materials and 35 demon-level materials. It was close to a heavenly weapon and was a sword weapon with extremely dense fire xianqi. It was forged by Shui Gui with all his might when he was at his most wronged. The sword was carved with sword patterns that curved and curved, representing how unbearable his emotions were. There was also resentment emerging. Sword chi floated and the sword hummed, inexplicably making one's heart ache. Shui Gui held Seeking Grievances sword, and all his negative emotions exploded at this moment. He shouted towards the palace. Shui Gui asks the emperor, what crime did Shui Gui commit? Insolent Shui Gui, you still have the face to ask for grievances. Today I will kill you. After Thunder Eagle Xiezhen shouted, he held the thunder blade and rode over on the Thunder Eagle King. Man and eagle became one as he furiously slashed down at Shui Gui. Thunder from a clear sky. High up in the sky, it was as if a bolt of heavenly lightning struck down and slashed at Shui Gui's head, wanting to cut him in half. Time-lapse Ling did not stay idle. He was very clear about Shui Gui's strength. How could Xiezhen be his opponent? When Xiezhen made his move, he already held a pair of eagle claws and flew over. The eagle claws clawed out from a distance of several dozen feet, tearing lion and killing tiger. He was like a demon eagle with extremely powerful blood chi. The incomparably sharp claws were several dozen feet long. Even if it was a lion or a tiger, it would be torn apart on the spot and become its food. Zhu Mo also moved. He held a long sharp spear and waves of xian qi covered his entire body. When he was less than 300 feet away from Shui Gui, the sharp spear furiously pierced out. In an instant, the spear pierced through layers of air and landed on Shui Gui's heart. Shui Gui died. Zhu Mo revealed a fanatical expression and roared. In addition to their attacks, their mounts also coordinated with their attack. King-level powers crisscrossed, tearing apart the long official road and the spacious field. This place was very close to the palace and no commoners could live here. Only the scenery, trees, and defensive fences on the left and right were crushed under the pressure of many powers. Fortunately, there was an array formation master who activated the array formation and began to protect everything in the surroundings. Otherwise, the surrounding area would have suffered even greater destruction. The emperor and the civil and military officials in the imperial palace had already climbed to the highest tower and were watching everything that was happening here. This Shui Gui really has guts, he still dares to come back to die. A civil official cursed in front of the emperor. Looking at his posture, it seems like he came back to die. I think we should persuade him first, then take him down in one fell swoop when he's not paying attention. You're too naive. Shui Gui's resentment is so high that it can reach the heavens. How could he be willing to give up? Your Majesty, don't be angry. Just treat it as a good show. The Emperor of Great Xia didn't say anything. He just looked at Shui Gui with a calm expression and murmured, "The appearance of the traitor leads to chaos." Below, Shui Gui was facing the combined attacks of 3 kings. His expression was calm as he pulled out the grievance-seeking sword. An intense flame swept out. This astonishing sword slashed out in a huge arc, slashing towards the attacks from 3 different directions. Wherever the sword light went, the grievous chi tore apart those attacks, and there was still a powerful force remaining. Whoosh! Whoosh! The 2 eagle kings cried out in alarm as blood splattered everywhere. Their bodies fell to the ground. Other than that, Xiezhen was hit by a strand of sword chi. His armor cracked and fresh blood seeped out. If the power was just a little bit more domineering, he would have been cut in half. On the other hand, Guoshirling and Zhuemo were still fine. They blocked the sword and were only forced to retreat. Blood flowed out from their palms, but they weren't seriously injured. "Don't stop me again, or die," Shui Gui said indifferently as he rode on the wild red hare. He only used 30% of his strength in this sword. He didn't intend to kill the person in front of him. His final target was still the current emperor. "Shui Gui, don't be stubborn. You also have the blood of Great Xia flowing in your veins. You deserve to die for offending your superiors. You should stop." Guoshirling once again blocked in front of Shui Gui and said. Zhuemo also walked over and said, "Put down your weapon and I'll give you a quick death. You really want to force me to kill?" Shui Gui glanced at the distant city gate tower and took a deep breath. Immediately after, he shouted again, "May I ask the Emperor, what crime have I committed?" "You're courting death." Guoshirling and Zhuemo both shouted at the same time and attacked together again. Eagle Claw Dismemberment Hand. Zhu Gang Tiger. Both of them used all their strength, and their battle strength was close to that of a high-level king. The eagle claws were incomparably sharp and suffused with dense killing intent. They could tear apart the body of any living creature. Zhu Gang's spear suddenly transformed into a ferocious tiger. The transformation between a pig demon and a tiger demon brought about a completely different killing aura as they charged forward. Guoshirling and Zhuemo were both in the position of great commander. There was no need to talk about their battle strength. They weren't as simple as ordinary kings. Each of their Xian Qi contained a unique destructive power. Furthermore, the battle techniques they cultivated were all king technique. The power they could unleash was enough to fight those above their level. It was a pity that these seemingly powerful forces couldn't even withstand a single blow in Shui Gui's eyes. He rode the wild red hare and leisurely walked forward. The grievance-seeking sword slashed out from left and right, easily shattering the 2 waves of attack. The sword rays still surged towards the 2 of them. Pu Piu! Pu Piu! The armor on the 2 of them was slashed open. Long sword marks were branded on their bodies. Fresh blood spurted out continuously, and they only stopped when they were thrown a long distance away. They were once kings in the top 10. Even if they were ranked at the bottom, their king's might was already invincible. 2 good-for-nothings. They can't even block a has-been king. The Emperor has asked me to take care of them. On the city gate tower, a military general asked the Emperor for permission to fight. The Emperor didn't reply. He only waved his hand, stopping him from doing so. At this moment, more than 10 kings rushed out from different directions. They were the second line of defense in the imperial palace. Whoever dared to offend the imperial palace's dignity would be killed without mercy. When these people appeared, they didn't waste a single word. They all attacked Shui Gui with all their might. More than 10 majestic and powerful forces landed on Shui Gui's position. Shui Gui's gaze was still as calm as water. He slowly put away the grievance-seeking sword and pulled out a second war weapon. He shouted, "With the condemnation blade, I dare ask your majesty, what crime did Shui Gui's wife and children commit that you want to kill them all?" Shui Gui's wife was beautiful and charming. She was even pregnant. However, because of Shui Gui's matter, she was implicated and tragically killed. Every time Shui Gui thought of that scene, his heart felt like it was being cut by a knife. He was in so much pain that he wished he was dead. He really wanted to end his life early and accompany them. However, he was unwilling and angry. He wanted to use this blade to punish them. The condemnation blade asked the emperor and the hundreds of officials. What crime did Shui Gui's wife and children commit that they should be punished like this? The emperor wasn't angry. To him, if the emperor wanted an official to die, the official had no choice but to die, let alone the wife and children of an official. The hundreds of officials' hearts were slightly moved. They also had wives and children. If one day they angered the dragon's scale, would they also be punished like this? The condemnation blade burned fiercely. It burned in all directions, blocking many of the attacking forces in front of it. Boom! Boom! The dozens of kings who were attacking Shui Gui were all shattered before his eyes. No one's power could get within 10 meters of the wild red horsehair. Even so, the wild red horsehair was so scared that its legs went soft. It lay on the ground, unable to take another step forward. Even though Shui Gui had an extremely powerful horse riding technique, the wild red horsehair was too weak. It was still nothing in front of a king. Shui Gui soared into the sky with the fire wings on his body. The condemnation blade slashed out in all directions. Every slash was wide open and did not pay attention to many variations. It only contained the courage and impulse to punish. The combat strength that Shui Gui displayed was already at the level of a top-level king. He even touched the edge of the heavenly fish realm. The dozens of kings in front of him still found it difficult to suppress him. "Get into formation and kill," one of the kings shouted in alarm. These people quickly took their positions. Many of their auras were closely connected, forming a prison. They all exerted their full strength to form the power of the formation. The power of the formation increased the power of the attack. Wave after wave, they wanted to blast Shui Gui into a bloody pulp. Sealing destruction formation. This was a top-level king's formation. It was formed by dozens of kings. Dozens of forces combined and constantly crisscrossed, forming a sharp destructive force that was enough to kill a top-level king. This was the strength of the second line of defense in front of the imperial palace. If the imperial palace, an important place of the Great Xia, didn't have such a thing to rely on, it would really be embarrassing. "May I ask, Your Majesty, what crime did my wife and son commit?" Shui Gui didn't seem to care about this formation. He still stared at the city gate tower and questioned loudly. He held the condemnation saber with both hands and slashed in all directions. The condemnation saber was filled with a sinful aura and contained a bit of saber intent. It slashed out with incredible power, destroying the besieging forces. He slashed out again and again, completely disregarding his own life. He cut the 3 kings in front of him in half, staining the front gate of the imperial palace with blood. As for Shui Gui, he also suffered from the bombardment of many forces. The black battle armor on his body was shattered, but he still had a top-level defensive armor on his body that protected his vitals and minimized the damage. After killing 3 people, the remaining people did not panic because of this. Instead, they once again patched up the gap and continued to besiege Shui Gui without any regard for their lives. They were all kings loyal to the imperial family. Even if they had to die, they wouldn't let the enemy take half a step past them. They kept charging and swapping positions. They blasted out the most powerful moves they had learned in their lives over and over again, completely disregarding the consequences. Shui Gui's heart was like steel. He kept asking questions, killing one person with each question. In front of the imperial palace, many people in the imperial city were alarmed. If it weren't for the imperial guards stopping them, even more people would have come to watch. However, no matter how the imperial guards tried to stop them, they couldn't stop the eyes and ears of some kings. Everything that happened here was destined to spread throughout the imperial city and even to every corner of the Great Xia dynasty. "A bunch of trash, get out of the way. Wait for me to kill Shui Gui." Another shocking voice rang out as he charged out. Chapter 302. With the condemning blade in hand, Shui Gui slaughtered in all directions. Even the kings in the formation couldn't withstand his desperate attacks. Half of the dozen or so people died in his hands. His blade was condemning, his blade was drinking blood, and his eyes were looking at the emperor, hoping for an explanation. Shuegui was so brave, how could Great Xia have no one? Finally, a high-level king came out. This person looked like he was in his early 30s, but in fact, he was in his 40s. He looked quite young and handsome. He wore gorgeous clothes and had a long staff on his shoulder. With an arrogant face, he released a pair of fire wings and blocked in front of Shuegui. It was the city guardian general, Su Yenshui, the Rod King. Shuegui looked at Su Yenshui with bloodshot eyes and shouted, "Do you want to return the lives of my wife and children?" The momentum of the blade was surging violently, slashing a long fire scar in the sky. "I'll send you to hell to meet them." Su Yenshui flicked his bangs and shouted. Flashing his fire wings, he dragged the long fire stick and smashed it toward Shuegui's head. Smoke stick thick fog. This fire stick seemed to be emitting thick smoke, rendering the sky hazy. There was also a scorching power that swept toward Shuegui. The power was quite astonishing, and it could be said to be one strike to shock the heavens and earth. Those who could become the city guardian general were all experts who could fight above their level. They were all 1 in 100, and only those who were qualified to take on this heavy responsibility could sit in this position. It wasn't something an ordinary king could do. The blade and the staff kept colliding, and bursts of fierce sparks kept splashing in all directions. The powerful king's aura created a fiery storm here. Under the repeated collisions, Su Yenshui was defeated by Shuegui. He was still not Shuegui's match. "I don't believe I can't take you down." Su Yenshui was enraged. Thick smoke floated around his body, and a lot of power floated between heaven and earth, creating a fire fog, making people unable to tell where he was. The fire fog formed a sea. This was a battle technique to confuse others. Not only did it burn people's eyes, but it also attacked from unexpected positions and killed the enemy. This was Su Yenshui's ultimate move. Who knew how many people had died under this move? Shuegui stood motionless, and Su Yenshui appeared above his head and hit his head with the staff. Just as the staff was about to reach Shuegui's head, Shuegui suddenly disappeared. "What?" After Su Yenshui's staff missed, Su Yenshui cried out in astonishment. At this time, Shuegui's, and faintly. And Su Yenshui's, and Guiz's. Shuegui's. Even so, Shuegui's injuries were not light. The bloody wounds were a ghastly sight. Shuegui ignored Su Yenshui and once again headed toward the city gate tower. Unfortunately, resistance appeared again. "Marshal Yan, you're too useless. Didn't you say you're the strongest among us 4 generals?" A delicate voice rang out. A sexy young woman flashed a pair of pure white profound wings as she flew over from a certain direction. Apart from her, 2 other high-level kings also appeared. Qin Shiyue, Wu Shilong, Chao Jianjun, and Su Yenshui were the 4 great city protectors. Their strengths were on par, and they represented the imperial palace's 3rd line of defense. Wu Shilong and Chao Jianjun were both middle-aged. Wu Shilong was taller and more powerful. He carried a huge broadsword and his muscles bulged. He was filled with domineering strength. Chao Jianjun belonged to the calm and cold type. He carried an ancient sword on his back, and his gaze was very calm. It was as if nothing could stir his emotions. "I forgot that Xue Tai Shou is a blacksmith. My fire mist is useless against him," Su Yenshui said with a wry smile. "Don't talk nonsense. The Emperor is watching. Let's work together to take him down," Wu Shilong faintly said, and his broadsword slashed toward Shuegui. Chao Jianjun didn't say anything. He had already cooperated with Wu Shilong and stabbed out with his sword. Qin Shiyue, on the other hand, lashed out with her long whip. Like a snake, it wrapped around Shuegui's neck. "Come on. I don't believe that Xue Tai Shou is so powerful," Su Yenshui shouted and once again joined the battle. Your Majesty, you want to kill me and execute my wife and children. If the Emperor wants the subject to die, the subject has no choice but to die. However, why do you want to execute my disciple and grand disciple as well? What wrong have they done? How many weapons have they forged for the Xia kingdom? Why are you so cruel? Shui Gui ignored the three people in front of him and took out the third tier of the soldier kings. His voice reverberated in the sky above the palace. Everyone could hear him clearly. A long spear containing blood and tears soared into the sky. It was as if countless wronged souls were wailing and crying. They were all Shui Gui's disciples and grand disciples. They had helped Great Xia forge weapons one after another. Back then, at least half of the soldiers in the army were produced by the weaponsmiths he had established. However, these meritorious people had all become vengeful spirits in the Yellow Springs. The Blood and Tears spear was a top-grade royal weapon forged with the blood of Shui Gui's heart. First ask Injustice Sword, what crime did Shui Gui commit? All he did was release a pregnant barbarian woman. How did he become a traitor for collaborating with the enemy? Second ask Sin Saber, what crime did his wife and children commit? They were just innocent women and children. They didn't even know what was going on and were killed. How pitiful their deaths were. Third ask Blood and Tears spear. Everyone in the weapon-forging pavilion was a meritorious subject. They had forged many weapons for the Great Xia dynasty. Yet, they were implicated and sent to the gates of hell. Fourth ask Merciless spear. Those who were related to Shui Gui by blood were mercilessly killed without even knowing what was going on. It was said that the imperial family was merciless. When was that ever wrong? Fifth ask Splitting axe. Heads can be broken, blood can be shed. If there is a wrong, there must be an explanation. If there is a crime, there must be a crime. Furthermore, he had done meritorious deeds and did not make any mistakes. Why should he be judged guilty? Sixth ask Venomous Scorpion spear. Why was there a treacherous official in power who provoked and drove a wedge between them? Why was everything confiscated when the matter was unclear? Why was such a vicious person still alive? Seventh ask Broken Tongue hook. Those who stirred up trouble and gossiped should be punished by having their tongues broken. They shouldn't listen to the words of these despicable people. They were muddle-headed and deserved to die. Eighth ask Bone-crushing whip. He, Shui Gui, was proud and upright. He didn't betray the Great Xia dynasty after the weapon-forging pavilion was confiscated. It could be said that he was loyal and devoted. It was a pity that his bones were broken and he became a barbarian. How sad was that? Ninth ask Corpse extracting mace. Those barbarians whom he killed before took him in and didn't kill him on the spot. This was a great debt of gratitude. Hence, he wouldn't kill another barbarian to repay the vengeful spirits of the barbarians underground. 10th ask Dragon destroying hammer. Shui Gui made a living as a blacksmith. He had done countless meritorious deeds for the Great Xia dynasty with this hammer. In the end, let this hammer destroy the draconic qi in this area. Shui Gui asked 10 questions in a row. Every question caused the blood of a king to stain the ground. Blood stained the bottom of the palace. The sun was setting and the sky was dyed red. The draconic qi was affected by the dense murderous aura and weakened by a lot. 49 kings stepped forward. A total of 26 of them were killed by Shui Gui's 10th Ask King weapon. Even 2 of the 4 great guardian generals fell. This battle was earth-shattering and unusually tragic. Shui Gui was wearing a heavenly soldier armor. However, there were many injuries on his body. His arms and legs were full of scars. His bones were ghastly white. However, he still held on to his last breath and rushed toward the palace tower with the dragon-destroying hammer in his hand. His death wasn't regrettable. However, he still had to ask clearly. What did he do wrong? Kill him. The emperor no longer looked calm. His face was full of anger as he shouted in shock. A eunuch beside him rushed out. General Luo Gongming also made his move. These two were the most powerful people by the emperor's side. The eunuch was the emperor's personal bodyguard. He was also the emperor's confidant. His strength had already reached the peak. He was already a true heaven realm expert. His speed of attack was extremely fast. Luo Gongming was a top-notch king. He was one of the top 10 kings. He had already retired after accomplishing his mission. He was Fun Tianxiong's former superior. The two of them attacked at the same time. How glorious would it be to kill Shui Gui? Wind Claw. When the eunuch attacked, he unleashed a claw attack that was imbued with dense Qi. Even the air was being torn apart. The descending power was enough to easily tear apart mountains. Shui Gui, you should stop. Luo Gongming was tempted. However, he still had to use all his strength to kill Shui Gui. His strength was not as strong as the eunuch. However, his killing power was not weak. He was more experienced and terrifying than any of the kings who attacked before. You can't distinguish between reason and Tao. Your Majesty, do you dare to answer this guilty official? Shui Gui roared as he looked forward with a face full of blood. At that moment, his battle power was almost depleted. However, the will to punish was endless. Only death could eliminate his resentment. When the two powerful attacks came, Shui Gui suddenly unleashed an unexpected ability. 10 condemnation weapons rose into the air and attacked the two forces at the same time. The sword of seeking justice sought justice. The blade of seeking justice sought justice. The spear of bloody tears shed tears. The 10 weapons all left his hands and reached the weapon-controlling realm. What a shocking scene this was, causing everyone's expression to change. How did Shui Gui do it? This is unbelievable. He was once one of the top 10 kings. Now, he has reached the weapon-controlling realm. Even a heaven realm expert might not have this kind of ability. Moreover, it's already good for one person to be able to control one weapon. However, he can control 10 weapons at the same time. This is unbelievable. Could it be that these 10 weapons were made from his blood and tears? It's such a pity for this traitor. If he didn't betray us, our great Xia would have a heaven realm expert soon. This might be the legendary weapon refinement path. He is a weapon refinement master, and after connecting with the blood of every weapon he forged, he would be able to use them as he pleased. Shui Gui has definitely entered this realm of martial arts. Chapter 303. That night, the winds and clouds in King City suddenly changed as the first spring rain fell. This rain came very suddenly. Although it was still sunny during the day, it was stormy at night, causing everyone to close their doors and windows and not leave their homes. On this stormy night, a person wielding 10 king armaments seriously injured a general and forced a heavenly fish realm eunuch to retreat. He had almost killed his way to the emperor. Your Majesty, what crime have I, Shui Gui, committed? Shui Gui roared as he wielded his 10 king armaments. The Xia emperor finally agreed. Your crime of setting the barbarians free is unforgivable, and you still have the face to question me? Now that you have offended your superiors, you have committed an unpardonable crime. You will be killed, and your entire family will be executed. The emperor's killing intent was incomparably dense, as if a true dragon was roaring. The dragon's might was inviolable. You incapable ruler, return my wife and children, and return my disciples and grand disciples. Shui Gui's eyes were filled with anger as he roared. He spat out a mouthful of essence blood, which landed on the 10 king armaments. The king armaments began to wail as they gathered together with Shui Gui's emotions. The 10 king armaments revolved around him as his spiritual energy gathered to the peak and charged towards the emperor. 10 battle armaments with different flames appeared in front of Shui Gui's lonely tent. He had been forging for 10 years without stopping. He had been wronged and bled, but he had never shed a tear. His heart was like steel as he repeatedly hammered the ironware after the cold tribulation. Today, He could no longer suppress the urge to gather 10 battle armaments and ask for 10 sins. He had entered the path of refining. This was Shuegui's own path. His battle armaments were his everything. If he lived, the battle armaments would exist. If he died, the battle armaments would be destroyed. Traitor, you dare to be impudent in front of the Emperor? I'll tear you apart alive. The eunuch was enraged by Shuegui's path of refining. His strength surpassed Shuegui's, but he was forced to retreat by Shuegui's 10 battle armaments. He could no longer tolerate it. The eunuch used all of his power and tore apart Shuegui's armor. He grabbed Shuegui's heart and crushed it, causing blood to splatter everywhere. Shuegui did not care about his own life or death. His will had already merged into the 10 weapons, and the 10 weapons were led by the dragon's destruction hammer. It was as if it had become a heavenly hammer. The hammer with clear rewards and punishments smashed heavily towards the Emperor. "Protect His Majesty!" Someone screamed and attacked the 10 soldiers with all their might. The civil and military officials around the Emperor, as long as they had the slightest bit of strength, tried to stop the 10 weapons. Unfortunately, these forces were very weak and could not stop the hammer from falling. Most of the forces were destroyed by the 10 weapons and continued to move towards the Emperor. Quickly activate the protective array formation. Damn it, how can this power be so strong? Where is the Protector General? The civil and military officials were all in a panic as they watched the domineering hammer of the 10 weapons fall. This power was comparable to the might of the Heaven Realm. Even an ordinary Heaven Realm elite would not be able to stop it. This was the 10 sins, the path of refining weapons condensed from the 10 grievances. It was indestructible, and there was nothing it could not destroy. Shuegui, how dare you? The eunuch was anxious. He wanted to tear Shuegui apart alive, but he did not expect Shuegui to force such a powerful attack. He used all of his strength to tear Shuegui apart, but a special flame erupted from Shuegui's body, burning the eunuch until he had no choice but to let go. Shuegui turned into a man of fire. He was like a ball of flame in the furnace, incinerating the weapons and melting the materials. The fire would never end, and the fire would last forever. The hammer was still unable to hit the Emperor of the Xia dynasty. The power of the array formation had been activated in advance and blocked the hammer. Boom! Boom! The hammer's power was incomparably domineering, almost causing the Heaven Realm array formation to explode. Unfortunately, the 10 weapons did not have enough power to continue and were still stopped. Shuegui revealed a desolate expression as his body fell from the sky. He faintly said, "Foolish and tyrannical ruler, Great Xia shall be destroyed. The Great Xia dynasty shall be destroyed." There was no way to stop this voice. It spread out slowly, and even the sound of the storm could not stop it. It went deep into everyone's heart. "Shoot this traitor into a sieve!" The Emperor of the Xia dynasty shouted in anger. Swoosh! Swoosh! Countless arrows shot out. Shuegui, who had just landed, was pierced by thousands of arrows. He died in front of the palace, in front of the civil and military officials. The humiliation of the Xia dynasty was branded in Royal City, and he and his 10 royal weapons became the most tragic legend. In the faraway barbarian tribe, a dark-skinned young man was lying in bed. He was curled up tightly under the blanket. Suddenly, he felt a pain in his heart and woke up from his dream. He let out a heart-wrenching cry, "Foster father!" This voice pierced through the night sky of the grassland and did not fall for a long time. In a nameless valley in the Wolf Smoke mountain range, there was no wind or rain. There was only the coolness of spring and summer. On top of an old tree, there was a young man leaning against a tree branch. Not far from him sat an ice-cold beauty. They were talking when they suddenly saw a strange movement in a certain direction. The young man did not know how to observe the sky at night. He said in astonishment, "Why is there a blood-red light in the direction of the Xia dynasty in the middle of the night?" At this moment, A fire sword was jumping in the young man's Qian Kuan space. The young man sensed it and summoned the fire sword. Buzz! The fire sword seemed to have a mind of its own. It let out a sorrowful cry in the direction of the blood-red light. Such a strange thing shocked the young man. What's going on with the red essence sword? The master of weaponry refinement has fallen. The weapon is letting out a sorrowful cry. What a pity! Little Hay sighed softly under the tree. Little Hay, are you saying that Shuigui is dead? The young man on the tree exclaimed. The red essence sword was a king weapon that Shuigui had personally forged using the red essence stone. Its sorrowful cry meant that Shuigui was dead. There's not much suspense. It's a pity that a person who entered the path of weaponry refinement had died. If he did not fall, he would have become a powerful person in the future. Little Hay replied. The young man looked sad. He stroked the red essence sword and sighed softly. The imperial family of the Xia dynasty is tyrannical. If your strength is not above everyone in this small place, I'm afraid your end will not be good. Little Hay said. Then, she closed her eyes and did not speak any more. The barbarian tribe is already here. I believe they will make a choice, the young man said. He paused and looked at the dark night sky. I am not Shuigui. 7 days passed quickly. The matter of Shuigui was completely sealed off by the imperial family. Whoever dared to mention it would be killed without mercy. This ban could only stop the news for a while. It could not stop the news for a lifetime. Word spread from 1 to 10, and from 10 to 100. The matter of the emperor being interrogated of the 10 deadly sins was already deeply ingrained in the hearts of the people. Was the emperor guilty? Everyone had a question in their hearts. The commoners were far away and did not know. They only knew that their lives were peaceful, and they were not invaded by the flames of war. Even if the taxes were heavier, they could bear it. They did not feel that the emperor had committed any great crimes. After all, he was the emperor. Only the civil and military officials knew whether the emperor was guilty or not. He was obstinate and self-opinionated. He did not listen to good advice and appointed people based on favoritism. Almost all the important positions in the imperial court were in his hands. No one was allowed to go against his will. Those powerful officials who were rumored to have disloyal intentions all met with bad end. In the 20 years that he had succeeded the throne, every year, there would be a few important officials who committed some minor crimes and their family would be exterminated. This method increased his deterrence, but at the same time, it made people clearly feel that accompanying the emperor was like accompanying a tiger. It was really like treading on thin ice. Was the emperor's mistake guilty or not? No one dared to speak nonsense. After all, this world belonged to him. Shuigui was dead. The barbarian army was still at the border. In less than a day, they began to attack. The great Xia dynasty sent out 50,000 soldiers and horses to rush over. In addition, more than 10 kings arrived first to provide support. They also sent an important official to negotiate with the barbarian army. That important official was a second-rank official, Ban Tongji, the Minister of Rights. Accompanying him was the eunuch who killed Shuigui, Eunuch Du. When Ban Tongji and Eunuch Du arrived, Fun Tianxiong brought them to the barbarian army and called for them to send someone to negotiate. Ban Tongji was a typical civil official. He had a knowledgeable appearance, wore an official robe, and had a slightly protruding belly. He sat on top of a war chariot, following Fun Tianxiong and the others to the front of the formation. Eunuch Du did not appear. He was already hiding in the dark. As long as the heaven realm of the barbarian army made any movements, he would make a move. Where is Yang Wu? Shi Shafeng appeared with the vanguard and shouted at Fun Tianxiong and the others. Yang Wu is not in the army. My great Xia emperor has already sent the Minister of Peace, Ban Shangshu. If you really want to negotiate, you can talk to him. Fun Tianxiong replied. Ban Tongji walked down from the chariot and prepared to talk to Shi Shafeng. Unexpectedly, Shi Shafeng shouted, Scram, we will only negotiate with Yang Wu. We will not acknowledge anyone else. His voice was valiant and overbearing. Ban Tongji's strength was not that great. He was so scared that his body trembled, and he almost fell on the spot. Fortunately, there was a general beside him who supported him. Since you barbarians have the intention to negotiate, you should not be so rude. Fen Tianxiong said angrily. Humph, the one who has no intention to negotiate is Great Xia. Shi Shafeng snorted coldly. Then, he said, Yang Wu went deep into my tribe and had a deep discussion with my tribe's patriarch. Only then did my tribe's patriarch agree to negotiate with Great Xia. I did not expect you to treat Yang Wu as a traitor. Since that is the case, I see that there is no possibility of negotiation. Why don't we fight? Fight, fight, fight. The barbarian army cried out in alarm. This battle cry was so loud that it shocked everyone. It frightened the barbarian army and made them extremely nervous. Let's talk nicely. Ban Tongji had never experienced such a battle before. He was so scared that he rolled back to the chariot and said repeatedly, If you want to fight, then let's fight. Fen Tianxiong did not care about Ban Tongji's words. He knew that once he backed down, the barbarians would take advantage of the situation. It was better to be straightforward and fight a great battle. Just like that, the two armies once again engaged in battle. This time, Great Xia lost abnormally fast. This was because the appearance of the barbarian race's three great heavenly demon guardians scared Li Gonggong out of his wits. Chapter 304. The battle between the barbarian army and the barbarian army had just begun. The intervention of a Heaven Realm super expert was something that had never happened before. It meant that the two countries would fight to the death. The celestial beast, the barbarian bull demon, and the tigress appeared at the same time and suppressed the Great Xia army with their overwhelming power. The Great Xia army was unable to resist and more than 20 kings were captured, including Marshal Fen Tianxiong. The barbarian army was defeated in an instant. They had no strength to fight anymore. The 200,000 barbarian soldiers took advantage of the situation and surrounded the barbarian army. Those who resisted were beaten down. Those who did not resist were still safe and sound. The barbarian army felt despair for the first time. They were powerless against the Heaven Realm expert. What should we do? Are the barbarian army going to kill us all? If they really want to do that, we will fight with them. Marshal Fen and the other lieutenant generals have all been captured by them. This time, it's completely over. I didn't expect us to fall so quickly. Didn't the imperial court send reinforcements? The barbarian army was in a complete panic. Li Gonggong did not dare to fight with the three heaven demons. When the barbarian bull demon threw a punch in his direction, he retreated as fast as he could. Remember, we are only willing to negotiate with Yang Wu. If we don't see Yang Wu in 7 days, we will kill everyone here and invade Great Xia, the barbarian bull demon said. Is Yang Wu so capable? Li Gonggong exclaimed in his heart. Li Gonggong did not dare to stay any longer and rushed back to Great Xia's palace as fast as he could. Shui Gui's matter had just calmed down when Li Gonggong brought back the news of the barbarian army's invasion. The three heaven demon guardians of the barbarian army had appeared and captured hundreds of thousands of Great Xia's soldiers. They could be killed at any time. The palace was shaken and Great Xia's palace felt like a storm was about to come. The emperor of Great Xia gathered all the civil and military officials for a meeting. The civil and military officials could not come up with any plans. They could only suggest that Heaven Realm elites be sent to fight against the barbarian guards to stop the barbarian army from invading. Just as the soldiers were extremely anxious, Luo Gongming opened his mouth and said, "Your Majesty, I have something that I don't know if I should say." "Speak, Zhen will pardon you." The emperor said, "I feel that the barbarian race has the intention to negotiate for peace. Otherwise, they could have wiped out the entire barbarian suppression army and invade our great Xia in one fell swoop. Why would they leave us with a glimmer of hope? Luo Gongming said. That's not right. This could be a plot by the barbarian tribe to lure us in so that they can catch us all in one fell swoop. Song Lirue said. Luo Gongming ignored Song Lirue and continued to speak to the emperor. The barbarians have been clamoring for Yang Wu to negotiate for peace. Why don't we give him a chance to negotiate for peace? If he really signs the peace agreement, he will be promoted and heavily rewarded. If there is a conspiracy, he will be beheaded. I agree with General Luo's suggestion. An old civil and military official agreed. Another general also said, that's right. Since the barbarian race wants to negotiate for peace with Yang Wu, then give him a chance to represent our great Xia dynasty. If he really succeeds, we can save the lives of hundreds of thousands of soldiers. General Luo's words are correct. I implore the emperor to make a decision. Most of the officials agreed with Luo Gongming's suggestion. The emperor was silent for a moment before saying, approved. Thus, there were officials from the imperial court who quickly rushed to the barbarian suppression army to persuade the barbarian race not to be rash. They had already allowed Yang Wu to represent Great Xia to sign the peace agreement. The barbarian army were not fools. They needed to see Yang Wu before making a decision. The imperial court of Great Xia sent out eagle riders to search for Yang Wu's whereabouts in the Wolf Smoke Mountain range. They hoped to find Yang Wu as soon as possible. Yang Wu did not stray too far away from the barbarian suppression army. He also did not hide his whereabouts. Every day, he worked hard to cultivate his potential innate skills, hoping that one day, they would become the ultimate killer. In these few days, Yang Wu had already integrated the Wind God's leg innate ability into the Scud Kick, unleashing an incomparably powerful force. No, it should be said that he had integrated the Scud Kick into the Wind God's leg innate ability, forming an even more powerful Wind God's leg innate ability. In the end, the innate ability was the dominant force between the innate ability and the battle technique. The unique force of the battle technique had already been integrated. In other words, Yang Wu's Wind God's leg innate ability could explode with the speed and attack power of the Scud Kick. After reaching this stage, the strength of Yang Wu's legs would be incomparably powerful. His running speed would also be much faster. At this moment, Yang Wu was running in the valley. One could only see a series of afterimages flashing past. It was almost as if the wind was sweeping away the clouds. It was difficult to pinpoint his position and determine where his real body was. All of a sudden, he bounced up and kicked the mountain wall violently. Bang! Bang! Countless footprints were left on the mountain wall. Many mountain rocks collapsed and fell. The power of his kicks was quite astonishing. This was only because Yang Wu had not used the power of his celestial qi. If he had used the power of his celestial qi, the mountain would have exploded on the spot. Yang Wu landed. The dust that filled the air could not get close to him at all. It was rippled and scattered. At this moment, a group of eagle riders suddenly galloped over from the sky and swooped down in his direction. Roar! Before these eagle riders could get close, a fire cloud tiger roared at the sky. The aura of a demon king swept out, causing the eagle riders to cry out in alarm and panic. The cultivators sitting on the eagle riders also revealed looks of fear. They all urged the eagle riders to return to the sky, not daring to rashly come down. Is the one down there Yang Wu? Someone on the eagle riders called out. Yang Wu only raised his head. He did not even bother to respond. My master's name is not something you can casually call out. Get lost immediately. The fire cloud tiger stood on a rock and roared angrily. It spat out a flame and rushed forward. Several eagle riders were so frightened that they fled as fast as they could. The anger of a demon king was not something they could withstand. It took almost half a month to find me. It seems that they really won't cry until they see the coffin. Yang Wu sighed and shook his head. He walked to a stream not far away and washed his face. After a while, the eagle riders returned. This time, there were dozens of them in total. "Nephew Yang Wu, please come out for a meeting." Meng Helong's voice rang out. On the day Shui Gui returned to Royal City, he was the first to rush up. At that time, Shui Gui had held back and did not kill him. Now, he was sent to this mountain range to find Yang Wu's whereabouts. The fire cloud tiger roared again. It wanted nothing more than to rush up and devour the dozens of eagle riders. Yang Wu walked over and patted the fire cloud tiger's head. It lay down like a docile kitten. When the riders in the sky saw this scene, they were surprised for no reason. Their eyes were filled with reverence. This youth in front of them looked only 17 or 18 years old, but he could easily suppress a demon king. It was enough to show that this youth was extraordinary. Yang Wu raised his head slightly and said indifferently, "Come down and talk." Meng Helong did not expect that the youth who had been struggling on the edge of life and death in prison a year ago had already grown to this level. If he had not seen it with his own eyes, he would have thought that it was all an illusion. He sighed softly, "Come down with me." Only then did the eagle riders descend into the nameless valley. These dozens of eagle riders were all cultivators in the general realm. They were all wearing battle armor and wielding battle weapons. They were very powerful and extraordinary. Meng Helong had already entered the king realm. Although he was injured, his aura was completely different from before. "Nephew Yang Wu, I've finally found you," Meng Helong said with a gentle smile. Yang Wu smiled at Meng Helong and asked, "Commander Meng, why are you looking for me?" Yang Wu did not have a good impression of Meng Helong. After what happened in prison, he was even more disgusted. He felt that this person in front of him was a two-faced guy. He was too sinister and hypocritical. "Yang Wu, I'm your Uncle Meng. Why are you treating me like an outsider?" Meng Helong said with a smile. "I'm just a traitor. I don't dare to claim connections." "It's not good to ruin Commander Meng's reputation," Yang Wu replied. "Yang Wu, you must be joking. This time, I'm bringing you good news. The Imperial Court already knows about what happened to you. It's all because of vile people. You can now resume your official position and represent the Great Xia dynasty to sign a treaty with the barbarian tribe. Come back with me quickly," Meng Helong said enthusiastically. Just resume my official position?" Yang Wu was stunned for a moment before he asked. "Of course it's not that simple. After signing the treaty, there will be all kinds of rewards waiting for you," Meng Helong said again. Yang Wu laughed softly and shook his head. "Don't treat me like a 3-year-old kid. Whoever wants to sign the treaty can sign it. Don't come looking for me. I'm already prepared to be an idle person. What does the hatred of the country have to do with me?" This time, Meng Helong became anxious and hurriedly said, "Yang Wu, don't let loyalty get the better of you. This matter is very important. Don't you want to see your parents again?" At this point, Yang Wu's aura suddenly burst forth. That majestic power forced Meng Helong to retreat continuously. The other soldiers and knights all revealed looks of horror. They felt as if a huge rock was pressing down on their hearts. It was so uncomfortable that they couldn't speak. "What a terrifying aura!" they all exclaimed in their hearts. At this point, they finally knew how powerful this young man in front of them was. It was no wonder that the fire cloud tiger was so obedient. This was a remarkable young king. "You dare to use my parents to threaten me?" Yang Wu shouted loudly. Every dragon had a reverse scale, and Yang Wu's reverse scale was his family. Wasn't the reason why he worked so hard to cultivate and even led the barbarian army here to negotiate a treaty and made such a big fuss so that he could reunite with his family? No. Yang Wu, you've misunderstood. I just wanted to say that if you can resolve the issue of peace with the barbarian tribe, everything else will be easily resolved, Meng Helong hurriedly explained. Go back immediately and ask the Imperial Court to show their sincerity. Otherwise, the barbarian army will trample the Great Xia dynasty, Yang Wu said coldly. Chapter 305. Yang Wu was no longer a 3-year-old child. After going through many hardships, he had become an iron-blooded man. His wisdom had matured and he wasn't someone that Meng Helong could sway with just a few words. He already knew that the barbarian army had surrounded the barbarian army. However, he didn't interfere and didn't care about it. He already had some understanding of the barbarians. They were men of their word and wouldn't go back on what they had promised him. If the barbarians went back on their word and massacred more than 100,000 barbarians, he wouldn't let them off so easily. He believed that the barbarians also knew how powerful he was and that he had the ability to do so. It was precisely because of this thought that he calmly stayed here to cultivate. No matter what the outcome was, he vowed to return to Monarch City. It was just a matter of whether he would return with glory or kill his way back. Now, it seemed that the barbarians were keeping their promise. At the same time, Great Xia was starting to panic. Meng Helong and the rest came to look for him. It could be seen that the barbarian army was putting a lot of pressure on Great Xia. Meng Helong's mouth was dry, but it was useless. What Yang Wu wanted wasn't as simple as being reinstated. How could others understand the disaster that his Yang family had suffered and the blow that they had suffered? Especially his younger brother, who was a top scholar. Before he could realize his ambitions, he was forced to give up his official position and leave his hometown. That kind of pain was deeply ingrained in Yang Wu's bones. His brother, who was as close as brothers, had become like this because of him. He wanted to take back what he had lost and give his brother a bright future. Meng Helong couldn't persuade Yang Wu. He could only return to Monarch City quickly and report Yang Wu's request to the Emperor for him to make a decision. The Emperor didn't have the mood to think about it. He immediately announced the release of Yang Zhenan and his wife, and conferred the title of Imperial Envoy to Yang Wu. He was promoted to the position of Lieutenant General and Count, representing Great Xia to sign a peace treaty with the barbarians. This imperial edict was quickly sent to the Wolf Smoke Mountain Range and read out to Yang Wu by Meng Helong. After listening to the imperial edict, Yang Wu revealed a satisfied smile. He bowed slightly and received the imperial edict. "Thank you for your grace." Yang Wu's acceptance of the imperial edict was a complete disdain for the imperial court and the emperor. However, Meng Helong and the others didn't even dare to fart. Yang Wu was already so powerful that even the barbarians listened to him and were willing to negotiate peace with him for 10 years. This alone was something that no one in Great Xia could do. Even the War King of Death, who was once the strongest in the world, didn't have this ability. Since Yang Wu had done it, he had the right to put on airs. After all, the imperial court was acting according to Yang Wu's wishes. This was equivalent to having a high merit overshadowing the master, and it was easy to be feared by others. Yang Wu no longer cared about this. He was a person who had been in prison, on the battlefield, and experienced life and death. Why would he be afraid of those rumors? He could clearly feel that once he had absolute power, even the emperor would have to act according to his wishes. If he hadn't been born in Great Xia and missed his family, he wouldn't have had to go through so many twists and turns. He could have left his hometown to cultivate in seclusion and come back to take revenge when he had unparalleled combat power. Now, the official title given by Great Xia was not bad. He was directly promoted to Count. The title of nobility was a symbol of Great Xia's nobility. Many people who had an official position might not have a title of nobility. They had to have been officials for 3 generations or had made great contributions before they could receive the title. Yang Wu's father, Yang Zhenan, was originally a hereditary count. In his generation, he could only be a hereditary viscount. That was considered a symbol of nobility in Monarch City. Now that he could become a count, he wasn't any worse than his father. Yang Wu didn't push his luck. Even if it wasn't a problem for him to become a marquis with his contributions and strength, things had to be done step by step. He couldn't be anxious. Yang Wu. Count, what do you think about the negotiation? Our people are running out of food. If this goes on, they will starve to death even if they don't get killed by the barbarian army, Meng Helong said. Alright, let's go. Yang Wu said and waved his hand in a direction. A beauty riding a dragon-blooded horse appeared, followed by a tortoise and a tiger. Both of them emitted the strong aura of a demon king. Meng Helong exclaimed in his heart, Yang Wu has really made a name for himself. Before this, he had already regarded Yang Wu as a dead man. In his heart, he was optimistic about Yang Wu. He believed that Yang Wen would eventually come back after going through hardships and ascending to a high position. But now, Yang Wen hadn't done anything, but Yang Wu had already caused such a huge commotion. Furthermore, his strength had already reached such a high level. Meng Helong was filled with regret. If he hadn't helped Yang Wu in the mountain prison, or if he hadn't set up obstacles for Yang Wu, perhaps Yang Wu wouldn't be so estranged from his uncle. Yang Wu and Meng Bingxue rode the dragon-blooded horse together and slowly headed towards the barbarian army. Many of the generals in the barbarian army had already been captured. It could be said that they were like a group of dragons without a leader. Moreover, they were surrounded by the barbarian army. Whoever dared to break out of the encirclement would be killed on the spot. They had a lot of people, but without a powerful king, they couldn't fight against the barbarian army. They could only obediently stay where they were and wait for the imperial court to send someone to save them. So many days have passed. Why hasn't anyone come to save us? Could it be that the imperial court has already given up on us? I'm so hungry. I want to find something to eat. Otherwise, I'll die. Let's just fight it out with those barbarians. If we can kill one, it'll be one. If we can kill two, we'll have profited. Why are all of you quarreling? Our generals have all been captured by the barbarians. What right do we have to fight them? Let's just wait. The imperial court will definitely help us out. What are we waiting for? Let's fight it out with the barbarians. Rather than waiting for death here, we might as well fight it out with them. As time passed, a portion of the great Xia soldiers couldn't help but become restless. Someone even took the lead and charged towards the barbarian army. The barbarians had always been at odds with the great Xia soldiers. The barbarians surrounded the great Xia soldiers but didn't kill them. It wasn't because they were merciful, but because they were forced to follow orders. That was why they suppressed their anger and didn't kill the great Xia soldiers. Now that someone dared to attack them, they could finally raise their weapons and slash at the great Xia soldiers. How dare you prisoners be so arrogant? Kill all of you! A barbarian general shouted. One by one, the barbarian soldiers attacked the great Xia soldiers without hesitation. Both armies were impulsive. The great Xia soldiers were starving. They were prepared to fight to the death and kill as many barbarians as they could. The barbarian soldiers already had enmity with the great Xia soldiers. They were full of energy and had astonishing brute force. When they killed, they wouldn't show any mercy. The barbarian kings here had already noticed the commotion, but they turned a blind eye to it. It was also a good thing to let the soldiers vent their anger. Following the start of the small-scale killing, both armies started to become restless. The great Xia soldiers thought that the barbarians were going to kill them, while the barbarians thought that the great Xia soldiers were going to kill their way out. Naturally, they wouldn't let the great Xia soldiers succeed. Just when both armies were about to riot, Shi Shafeng, as the great general, couldn't let the situation turn out like this. He soared into the sky and roared, "Everyone, stop!" Unfortunately, his words could only intimidate the soldiers of his own race and couldn't suppress the great Xia soldiers. Since we are going to die anyway, why don't we kill 2 more barbarian thieves? That's right, let's fight it out together. We won't die cowardly death. Kill. I'm going to go all out today. The threats of the barbarian kings were no longer effective. The great Xia soldiers completely rioted and wanted to fight to the death with the barbarians. It was a mess. It was a complete mess. The strength of both armies started to compare. Although the barbarians had the upper hand, they had some misgivings. If they really went on a killing spree, they would be completely disobeying the orders of the Patriarch and the three guardians. If that happened, they would be punished. Stop these great Xia soldiers, stop them. Don't be heavy-handed. Shi Shafeng started to get anxious. He ordered loudly, and at the same time, he swooped down onto the battlefield and knocked down the great Xia soldiers one by one. However, with so many people rioting, it was impossible for both armies to not have casualties. Some of the great Xia soldiers were killed, and some of the barbarians were also killed. Screams and sounds of killing shook the sky, causing the battlefield to be in chaos. Bastards, I told you to suppress the great Xia soldiers, not to kill them. Huang Fu Delong had been holding the line. After seeing the situation going out of control, he couldn't help but roar. He hurriedly asked the other barbarian kings to take action together and do their best to suppress this riot. Otherwise, it would be difficult to explain when Yang Wu appeared. Even though these barbarian kings took action, it was of no use. Like Shi Shafeng, they could stop their own soldiers, but they couldn't stop the great Xia soldiers. What should we do now? Huang Fu Delong was extremely depressed as he shouted in alarm. He couldn't just stand by and watch. With a few ups and downs, he knocked down wave after wave of great Xia soldiers, displaying his Heaven Realm combat strength and suppressing everyone. The three guardians and Huang Fu Zhanxiong, who were behind the barbarian army, had already sensed the chaos. Who told them to start a war? How are we going to explain to Brother Yang Wu when he returns? The barbarian bull demon shouted. These children are really insensible. It's fine if we just surround them. How can we make such a big fuss? Brother Yang Wu doesn't like to see this, the tigress also said in dissatisfaction. The celestial phenomenon demon said to Huang Fu Zhanxiong, Patriarch, go and settle this matter immediately. We can't let Brother Yang Wu be unhappy. Guardians, the great Xia soldiers couldn't take it anymore and started the fire first. Our Langer was forced to resist, Huang Fu Zhanxiong explained. No matter what, we must not kill the great Xia soldiers. Peace is the most important thing, the celestial phenomenon demon said solemnly. I understand. I will try my best to make them stop. Huang Fu Zhanxiong nodded deeply and ordered the generals beside him to settle this matter as soon as possible. As for the great Xia generals who were not far away, they heard the conversation between the three guardians and Huang Fu Zhanxiong. All of them were shocked. They wondered if they had heard wrongly. The three celestial phenomenon demons seemed to be on Yang Wu's side. Even Huang Fu Zhanxiong didn't dare to go against their wishes. What was going on? Was Yang Wu really that capable? At this moment, Yang Wu arrived late. He immediately rushed to the sky and shouted, All of you, stop! Chapter 306. Yang Wu's voice was like a sudden clap of thunder and seemed to contain traces of a flood dragon. It was very shocking. He was high up in the air, and his entire body emitted an incomparably brilliant glow. He was like a blue sun shining on everyone, causing them to inexplicably stop in their tracks. The Imperial Envoy Yang Wu is here. Soldiers of Great Xia, listen to my orders. Retreat. Yang Wu's voice was loud and sonorous, and it fell into the ears of every Great Xia soldier. Yang Wu's name had long been deeply ingrained in the hearts of the soldiers. He was a legend and the idol of the younger generation. If it weren't for the fact that his betrayal had been exposed, his status in the hearts of the soldiers would have been even higher. Now, his appearance could indeed stabilize the morale of the soldiers, but it didn't mean that all the soldiers would listen to his orders. After all, they all felt that Yang Wu was still siding with the barbarians and was a traitor. At this moment, Meng Helong flew over and hurriedly read out the imperial edict. His Majesty has decreed that Yang Wu will be promoted to the position of Imperial Envoy Protector General to discuss the matter of peaceful coexistence with the barbarians. Yang Wu will be able to handle all the matters at the border. He hopes that all the soldiers will do their best to assist him. Thank you very much. After hearing Meng Helong's announcement, the great Xia soldiers were so moved that they cried out in surprise. The imperial court has indeed not forgotten us. Thank you, His Majesty. Thank you, General Yang. Long live His Majesty. So General Yang isn't a traitor? That's great. I knew he wouldn't be a bad person. Last time, General Yang Wu appeared and turned the tide. This time, lead us to kill these barbarians. After the great Xia soldiers were ordered to stop, it was much easier for the barbarians. Under the orders of Huang Fu Dalong and Shi Shafeng, they quickly retreated. After splitting up, the number of casualties was clear. A few hundred soldiers from Great Xia died, and more than 1,000 were injured. On the other hand, the barbarians had fewer casualties and fewer injuries. This was all thanks to Yang Wu's timely return. Otherwise, the great Xia soldiers might have been completely wiped out. Yang Wu looked at the dead and could only sigh heavily. Bury them first. If anyone is injured, I will give them healing pills later. Then, he looked at Huang Fu Dalong and said, Have your people retreat first. We'll talk next. There's no need for them to stay here. Brother Yang Wu, it's good that you're back. I'll get them to withdraw, Huang Fu Dalong said with a sigh of relief. Then, he ordered all the barbarian soldiers to retreat. These barbarian soldiers all knew of Yang Wu's name. Even though they didn't know how Yang Wu had gained the recognition of their guardian and patriarch, this wasn't something they needed to worry about. They just needed to obey. The barbarian army retreated like a receding tide. The tense nerves of the great Xia soldiers were finally relieved. Many of them went limp on the spot. They were so hungry that they couldn't bear it anymore. Yang Wu scanned them with his divine consciousness and said loudly, All commanders, head to the granary immediately and start eating. The granary had been occupied by the barbarian army long ago. Now that the barbarian army had retreated and Yang Wu's command, the great Xia soldiers became excited. There's finally something to eat. Quickly head to the granary and find something to eat. Many soldiers couldn't help but want to rush to the granary. It was a mess again. Yang Wu had no choice but to speak again. Those who don't listen to the commands of the commanders and snatch the food will be killed without mercy. Yes, General Yang. The commanders of the various military camps shouted in unison. The commanders of the various military camps began to show their might. They reorganized the order of their respective military camps and restored military discipline. Yang Wu didn't have time to care about them. He walked over to Huang Fu Dalong and Huang Fu Zhanxiong, cupped his hands and said, Patriarch Huang Fu, Senior Dalong, can you release the general of our army? We can release him at any time, Huang Fu Zhanxiong replied heroically. Then release him. Our two clans are here to negotiate peace. We can't hurt our relationship, Yang Wu replied. General Yang is right. My clan came here with full sincerity. You great Xia people are too slow. Huang Fu Zhanxiong nodded in response. He then said to Huang Fu Dalong, Release them all. Huang Fu Dalong then led his men back and brought Fun Tianxiong, Su Tinghong, and the others over. 20 to 30 king-level generals were escorted over like captive. Their old faces were flushed red and looked very ugly. They had always felt that they would rather die on the battlefield than be captives for a day. However, the appearance of the heaven demon from the barbarians was too sudden. They didn't even have the chance to die before they were captured. This made them feel extremely sullen. Yang Wu welcomed the dejected generals and said, Generals, you have suffered. Yang Wu, this was all part of your scheme, wasn't it? Nan Chi-Chin glared at Yang Wu and shouted. Yang Wu said in a low voice, General Nan, I don't know what you're talking about. You're a traitor. Don't think that we're blind, Nan Chi-Chin scolded again. Yang Wu sneered and said, When we sign the peace agreement, you'll know whether or not I, Yang Wu, am a traitor. I'll wait and see how you betray your country for glory, Nan Chi-Chin said with a sullen face. Yang Wu couldn't be bothered to pay attention to him. Instead, he had Huang Fu Dalong release all of their seals. When Huang Fu Dalong unsealed Nan Qichin, he deliberately increased his strength, causing Nan Qichin to cry out in pain. He said, "Incompetent people dare to criticize Brother Yang Wu's abilities. I really don't know if all of you from Great Xia have a screw loose in your heads." All of the generals looked at Yang Wu with complicated expressions. They didn't know what they were thinking. They were all veterans of the battlefield, and could see that Yang Wu's relationship with the barbarians wasn't shallow. If Yang Wu really betrayed them, would they still have a way out? Would an army of more than 100,000 still have a way out? The answer was obviously no. It was because of this that they felt very puzzled. What kind of agreement did Yang Wu and the barbarians reach that made them go to war to negotiate peace? "All right, generals, go back and rest first. I'll talk to them about the following matters," Yang Wu said as he looked at the generals who had been unsealed. Fen Tianxiong sighed softly and said, "Yang Wu, remember that the blood flowing in your body is the blood of Great Xia." After he finished speaking, he led the way back to the barrack. Su Tinghong went to Yang Wu's side and glared at him. "If you dare to betray your country, I won't let you off." Chao Jinda patted Yang Wu's shoulder lightly and left without saying anything. The other generals didn't say anything. They already didn't have the face to stay here. After returning this time, what awaited them was a punishment of demotion. They might even have to retire and return to their hometowns. In front of everyone, Yang Wu said to Meng Helong, who was behind him, "Commander Meng, does the imperial court have any opinions on this peace negotiation?" Meng Helong was stunned for a moment before he replied, "No opinions. As long as we can negotiate peace and release all the soldiers. They really don't have any aspirations." Yang Wu sighed softly. Then, he waved his hand at Meng Helong and said, "All right, there's nothing else for you to do. You can leave first. I'll have a chat with my barbarian friends." After he finished speaking, he ignored Meng Helong and followed Huang Fu Zhanxiong and Huang Fu Dalong in the direction of the three great protectors. Meng Helong looked at Yang Wu and the supreme leader of the barbarian race walking side by side. They were talking and laughing. Suddenly, he had an illusion. It was as if he was looking at a young dragon that was rapidly growing up into a real dragon that could strike fear into the hearts of others. He was deeply in awe. Damn it, I thought that Yang Wu was the only demon. I didn't expect him to be so abnormal. These two brothers, one in civil and one in martial arts, who in Great Xia can block their radiance. Meng Helong cursed in his heart. Only now did he realize how stupid he had been in the mountain prison. Soon, Yang Wu and Huang Fu Zhanxiong met the three great heavenly demons again. Yang Wu revealed a flattered expression and said, "Two brothers and sister, Yang Wu, how could I have attracted you to come together? Haha, brother Yang Wu's business is our business. After you left, we thought about it and decided to help you to the end, so that the people of Great Xia won't stab you in the back." The barbarian bull demon walked over and gave Yang Wu a hug while laughing loudly. It was quite strong. Fortunately, Yang Wu's body was strong enough. Otherwise, he would have been seriously injured by the barbarian bull demon. "Old bull demon, you're taking advantage of brother. I want a hug too." Without another word, the tigress pushed the barbarian bull demon away and hugged Yang Wu tightly. She was tall and big, and Yang Wu's face was deeply buried in her ample bosom, almost suffocating him to death. "Sister, you. Let go of me. I can't breathe." Yang Wu struggled and said, "Haha, tigress, brother Yang Wu doesn't care about your benefits." The barbarian bull demon laughed from the side. The tigress let go of Yang Wu and said, "What do you mean by not being cheap? We and brother Yang Wu are blood-related siblings." Third sister is right. Brother Yang Wu has been recognized by the heavenly stairway, which means that he has been recognized by our clan's god. He will be our brother in the future. His business is our business. The heavenly elephant demon said this specifically for Huang Fu Zhanxiong and Huang Fu Dalong to hear. Huangfu Zhanxiong and Huangfu Dalong nodded deeply. They understood what it meant. Thank you, brother and sister. I won't say much. When I am free, I will find you for a drink. Yang Wu thanked the three sky demons gratefully. He did not expect the three sky demons to be so sentimental. He felt guilty, but at the same time, he wanted to repay them well in the future. After the three sky demons and Yang Wu caught up for a while, they left the time to Huangfu Zhanxiong. They did not want to get involved in the peace talks between the Xia kingdom and the barbarians. Huangfu Zhanxiong did not wait for Yang Wu to speak. He took out the contract that he had already drafted and said, "Brother Yang Wu, General Yang Wu, take a look at this contract. What do you think?" He originally wanted to call him Brother Yang Wu, but when he thought about how the three guardians would call him that, it seemed inappropriate. He quickly changed the way he addressed him. Yang Wu took the contract and read it carefully. Chapter 307. It was the season between spring and summer. It was drizzling and the spring was cool. Everything was thriving and full of vitality. Yang Wu represented Great Xia to sign a peace treaty with the barbarian race. This time, Yang Wu didn't sign the treaty with the barbarian race alone. Instead, it was signed by Yang Wu and the chief of the barbarian race under the witness of the generals of both sides. The generals of Great Xia all thought that Yang Wu would cede some land to the barbarian race and ask for peace. However, they didn't expect that not only did Yang Wu not cede any land, but he also requested for all the barbarian race to withdraw from the Wolf Smoke mountain range and 50 miles away from the mountain range. He also requested for the barbarian race to give Great Xia some gold, silver, jewelry, and some cloth, as well as 2,000 war horses as compensation. These things weren't considered a lot of wealth to Great Xia, but the symbolic meaning was different. In a war between nations, face was more important than anything else. Great Xia didn't have to pay anything else and instead received some compensation from the barbarian race. This was equivalent to Great Xia winning the war between the two nations and occupying the dominant position. This was enough for them to be complacent. To the barbarian race, these were unacceptable. However, they claimed that these were gifts for Yang Wu. This was because Yang Wu was an important guest of the barbarian race. Giving him some gifts wasn't a big deal. The three great guardians revealed that Yang Wu was someone recognized by the barbarian god. This was undeniable. Only then could the barbarian race make such a decision. This was why their hearts were unstable. Yang Wu, on the other hand, gave all of the compensation he had received to the imperial court, except for the war horses. He did not leave anything behind. This was considered giving enough face to the imperial court. As for whether they appreciated it or not, at least he had successfully completed his task as an imperial envoy. Many generals of Great Xia witnessed this treaty with their own eyes. Both sides dripped blood as proof and stamped the seal of the nation. They swore that they couldn't break the treaty at will. Otherwise, they would be punished by the heavens. This was a true spiritual treaty, and also a treaty of the fate of the nation. It was extremely formal and there weren't any problems. After the treaty was established, an auspicious power descended from the heavens and blessed the two nations, forming the shackles of the treaty. It also affected the fate of the two nations. Good, very good. Su Tinghong was a high-level king, so he could feel the arrival of fate. After confirming the authenticity of the contract, he couldn't help but cry out in excitement. It's finally peaceful. In the future, fewer people will die at the border. Fen Tianxiong also revealed a gratified expression. Chao Jianda said, "General Yang Wu is not a traitor. He has contributed greatly to Great Xia." "General Yang Wu is amazing!" someone shouted, and the soldiers behind him all cheered. "General Yang Wu is amazing! General Yang Wu is amazing!" The sound waves grew louder and louder, piercing through the sky. It was deafening. At this moment, Yang Wu's popularity and prestige had reached its peak. He had become the most cohesive and youngest lieutenant general. Yang Wu listened to these shouts and raised his head with incomparable enjoyment. He squinted his eyes and allowed the continuous drizzle to hit his face. His mind was incomparably clear as he said softly, "Father, Mother, do you see this? Your son has already begun to become famous in Great Xia. Even the barbarians know my name. I will be able to reunite with you very soon." Yang Wu had worked so hard for so long. Everything was for this moment. He could finally prepare to return to Imperial City. The barbarian army had all retreated and returned to the grasslands. In the future, Great Xia and the barbarians would use the mountain range as the boundary. From now on, the two nations would not invade each other. At least for the next 10 years, there would not be any disputes between the two nations. The various generals of the barbarian army returned to the main camp and began to celebrate. Although they had experienced a false alarm, being able to sign the Treaty of Peace could be considered a success. They were all veterans. Even if they were to retire, they would have no regret. The only ones who found it hard to accept were Feng Tyson and Nan Chi-Chin. Feng Tyson had always been against Yang Wu. Although the two of them had not really started a war, but he often argued with Yang Wu, which proved that he was not happy with Yang Wu. Now that Yang Wu's power was so great that it was completely unstoppable, Feng Tyson was worried about his own safety and status. Nan Chi-Chin was still a good person. He was only unhappy with Yang Wu because of his daughter. He also did not expect that Yang Wu would wholeheartedly serve the public and sign such a treaty. He felt very guilty in his heart. Nan Chi-Chin gritted his teeth and still walked toward Yang Wu. He knelt down on one knee and said, "General Yang Wu, I, Nan Chi-Chin, am willing to accept any punishment." His life was saved by Yang Wu, yet he was still trying to defame Yang Wu. He really shouldn't have done that. He was also a man. He dared to admit his mistakes. For someone of his level, there was no one who dared to kneel in public. Yang Wu quickly helped him up and said, "General Nan is too serious. You were only wholeheartedly serving the public. Let bygones be bygones." Yang Wu was not someone who would take a mile after being given an inch. Nan Chi-Chin had already forgiven him for doing this. "You are a hero of a generation. My daughter is not worthy of you." Nan Chi-Chin stood up and sighed, but turned and left. Yang Wu gently shook his head and did not say anything. He handed the contract in his hand to Feng Tianxiong and said, "Marshal, I'll have to trouble you to send this back to the court." Feng Tianxiong was stunned. He did not take the contract and instead replied, "This contract, I'll leave it to you to bring it back to the court. You have been given the title of Protector General and Count. You have to return to the court to receive your reward." Yang Wu forcefully stuffed the contract into Feng Tianxiong's hands and said, "You are the Grand Marshal here. I will not take back my title because of this." Feng Tianxiong was speechless. His eyes were already moist. Yang Wu was throwing this great merit to him. At the same time, he was giving him a protective talisman. He, the Grand Marshal and many other generals were captured by the barbarians. He had lost all face. This time, the court would definitely not let them go. However, with this contract in his hands, it was completely different. It was equivalent to having an extra death exemption token. Even if he was demoted, he would not be executed. The other generals did not think that Yang Wu would be so magnanimous. Their impression of him in their hearts rose sharply. This kind of young man was simply a hidden dragon. He had already soared into the sky. Who could stop him? Order was restored in the barracks again. Many of the barracks were celebrating. Yang Wu went to find Wan Lanxin, Shou Ho, and Lu Ji. Since Yang Wu was judged as a traitor, anyone related to Yang Wu was captured. Wan Lanxin, Shou Ho, Lu Ji, and the rest of the Death Legion were not left behind. At first, Jin Yan wanted to target Wan Lanxin. If not for Shou Ho and Zuo Yidao's protection, that guy would have succeeded. Later on, when the barbarian army attacked, no one paid attention to them. When the barracks were surrounded by the barbarians, they were released. They were prepared to be the vanguard. Unfortunately, they were not of much use. When they saw Yang Wu again, they all knelt and said in unison, "Welcome back, Commander." Yang Wu looked at these people and said, "Everyone, get up." When everyone got up, he said, "You've all been wronged, right?" Hearing this, everyone's eyes turned red. It was impossible for them not to feel wronged, but more than that, they felt aggrieved. It was not easy for them to follow the right master, but their superiors changed him just like that. This made them very sad. Du Guangfo stood up and said, "Commander, I'll only follow you from now on. I won't recognize anyone else." With him taking the lead, the others also said, "That's right. We'll follow Commander to death." These people's eyes were full of determination. They did not hesitate at all. They had already thought about their decision very clearly. Lu Ji stepped forward and said seriously, "My lord, we're all willing to follow you. Please take us in." Yang Wu nodded seriously and said, "Okay. From now on, you'll be my brothers. Follow me and you'll live a good life." In the past, he did not have the ability to say this. Now, he could say it boldly. As a lieutenant general, he already had the right to lead the army. It would not be difficult for him to take over the Death Legion. In addition, he wanted to completely dominate the Death Legion and make them his private army. This was a small ambition that belonged to him. An army of more than 1,000 people was far inferior to an army of more than 100,000 people. Yang Wu wanted to make them incomparably powerful. They would become the Death Legion of the Yang family army. If anyone dared to touch the Yang family again, the Death Legion would kill their entire family. Yang Wu led the members of the Death Legion to celebrate. As a member of the Death Legion, Jin Yen had long holed up. How would he dare to come out and admit that the Death Legion was his army? He would not be able to keep his life. During the celebration, Yang Wu and Wan Lanxin sat together. He saw that there was a bruise on Wan Lanxin's face. It was obvious that someone had slapped her. The bruise hadn't disappeared yet. He frowned and asked, "Sister, who hit you?" Before Wan Lanxin could reply, Shou Ho had already said, "Who else could it be? It's that so-called new commander." He saw that Sister Lanxin was beautiful and wanted to take advantage of her. At that time, my strength was sealed. Otherwise, I would have beaten him to death. "It's fine. It's all in the past," Wan Lanxin said with a faint smile. "And it's all in the past. Don't think about it anymore," Yang Wu said surprisingly calmly. Shou Ho was stunned. Then, he said with dissatisfaction, "Big brother, are we just going to let it go? If we don't let it go, what else do you want?" Yang Wu asked with a smile. "Even if we don't kill him, we have to beat him up to vent our anger," Shou Ho replied. "You're always so impulsive. Sooner or later, you'll suffer. Let bygones be bygones. What's the point of dwelling on it? Big brother, you weren't like this in the past. The one who was hit was Sister Lanxin. Why aren't you worried at all? Forget it. I'm fine. Yang Wu is already a lieutenant general. He has to take care of his status." "So what if he's a lieutenant general? Is that stupid status more important than your injury? If he's not going to teach that guy a lesson, I'll go." The next day, before Shou Ho could teach Jin Yen a lesson, he first received news that Jin Yen had been ambushed by a spirit demon the night before and that his manhood had been bitten off.